The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
You're listening to In the Corner with Benny Mac.
Acknowledge me.
Unfiltered.
Or was it one guy in an office who chose you who's not here anymore and we don't talk about it?
Uncensored.
This kid is an absolute piece of... Watch your mouth, Michael Cole!
And unforgiving.
The final boss? Come here. Listen up, Dwayne, you bald fraud! Jeez!
Here's the man in the corner, Benny Mac.
Finish the story!
Welcome back to In the Corner here on SJP Raw Media. Night 2 of WrestleMania is done and dusted. And for night 2, we had to get the wise man, as Tyler calls him, in from SJP Raw Media. Maybe not the wise man anymore, based on what happened on yesterday's on Saturday's WrestleMania, but still. The boss of the creator of SJP Raw Media, doesn't like to be called the boss. Mr. Cy Powell is joining me for night 2 of WrestleMania. How's it going?
Hello. How you doing, Benny? You good?
I am doing very well, Cy.
Creator's okay. I don't mind Creator because that is literally what happened. I did start it up. You guys are the stars, but yeah, I did create it. Boss, I hate that shit.
That's why I corrected myself as I was saying it. I thought, just as I was about to say it, I was like, oh, no, he doesn't like that, so I'll quickly change it. There we go. Now, I appreciate you and Tyler taking time to, obviously WrestleMania weekend, Wrestling Christmas, as Tyler said, and we all say, but I appreciate you guys being able to stop by and help me out with, because to do it by myself, I feel would be an injustice. And it's also good to get other people's... I know this show's called In the Corner with Benny Mac, but I like to get people on as temporary co-hosts, as co-hosts, whatever, and have just hopefully put on a good show for people listening and get different insights on what happened over the last, in this case, WrestleMania Night 2, Sunday. So, but before we do that, I do want to ask very quickly how you found Saturday, any highlights you want to quickly talk about, or anything that you feel you need to get off your chest before you move on to Sunday, or how has it been?
Yeah, sure. The Saturday, it was an up and down show for me, really. I think there were matches that were better than I expected them to be. For example, I enjoyed the tag team match between the New Day and the War Raiders a bit more than I anticipated. I really didn't care about it going in, so I was pleasantly surprised that kept my attention. Jey Uso beating Gunter, I mean, it's the result that we all kind of predicted, I think, isn't it? But
yes, yeah,
it wasn't potentially as good as I thought it could be. I mean, they could have done a bit more with that. And El Grande Americano, Rey Fenix, it was good action, but it's comedy as well. I love El Grande Americano, absolutely superb stuff. And the match of the night, obviously for me, the triple threat, the main event, and it again, the conclusion, brilliantly done. We say it all the time, don't we? On In the Corner, on Chain Wrestling, and all the other shows that we talk on. When WWE get these things right, it's cinema.
Yeah.
When they get it right, it's as good as any Hollywood blockbuster. It's fantastic storytelling. And yes, okay, we all kind of guessed what was potentially going to happen and got it right. But it was still cinema. It was still executed wonderfully. Paul Heyman, my word, can this guy act? He is glorious, isn't he? The triple threat was wonderful for me.
I was going to ask about the triple threat mainly because I know you're a big Punk fan. You've been on the show before.
Yes.
You've mentioned it on Chain Wrestling as well, and obviously the whole when he came back to wrestling and he went to AEW. You've spoke about that in the past, and obviously I saw his return to wrestling in AEW, but I'm not really an AEW avid watcher, so I didn't really see a great deal of what he did there. I've heard stories and read stories on the internet, and what's true and what isn't true is up for debate all the time. But it was cool to see him go back. But I always wanted him to come back to WWE. There was I think I said it on the prediction show. I think I said, like, I've always felt like he would come back at some point, but maybe that's just a way of circumstance, the way things have gone.
They all go back, mate.
But
They all go back.
Don't get me wrong. You always think, will they though? And I'm, I've got no way of proving this. I think if a certain individual was still in charge, probably not. But I could be wrong about that because he may have eventually. It may have been a couple more years before we saw Punk again. I don't know. But
the thing is, obviously, you're talking Vince there, aren't you?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, how old's the guy now? Late 70s?
Yes, yeah.
How much longer is he going to be around realistically, health-wise, or even potentially, with old age creeping up and so on?
I feel like Vince McMahon would have
mid-40s.
Yeah, I think Vince McMahon would have just done it till he dropped. I genuinely think that.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If these allegations hadn't come out and he wasn't removed, how much longer would he be around for anyway? Do you know what I mean? Like health-wise or passing away, it would have happened eventually.
Of course.
Punk, he's not quite 50 yet. Coming back for a one-off at the age of 50 wouldn't have been too much of a stretch of the imagination. They always go back, mate. And do you know why? Because people write them big fat checks.
Of course,
that's why they go back.
Of course. But I'm glad that what he's done so far with the company, it's been really good. I mean, we might as well talk about. I know we already talked about it yesterday with me and Tyler. Obviously, the main event, the whole Paul Heyman. You just said about Paul Heyman's acting skill, but just the build to this match. There have been moments where he's pulling certain faces. When like Punk acknowledged Roman, Paul Heyman, if you look back at that, Paul Heyman was sort of shaking his head saying, no, don't do that. Don't acknowledge him. It's like, really? Okay. And then the promo that Seth cut right before Mania, and obviously they did the whole thing of Punk coming out to save Paul Heyman from Seth. I'm not going to say I knew 100% because you never do, but I felt that this was, even though they're acting and they're doing these promos in wrestling, I felt that this was a show not only for the fans but also for Roman, and if you go deeper into the story, for Roman and Punk to make them think that Seth and Paul really don't like each other. I mean, I saw Paul Heyman years ago eventually turn on Brock Lesnar and cost Brock Lesnar the WWE Championship against Big Show at Survivor Series in like 2002. So it's not a massive stretch for Paul Heyman to turn on people, but the story that's been told with Roman and Punk over the years and the whole, I think I said it in yesterday's show with Tyler, but technically Seth Rollins is a Paul Heyman guy because he was the reason, that they portray the reason the Shield existed. It was to protect Punk's title reign at the time back then, and Paul Heyman was the guy to bring these three guys in. So, if I'm maybe reaching a bit there, but technically Seth Rollins was always a Paul Heyman guy, right? Only by storyline.
I'll buy that. And the thing as well is, I won't say all the time because nothing's ever, completely that way. But the best wrestling angles, best wrestling storylines, and of course, best wrestling characters and reactions are the ones that blur the lines or are based a little bit in reality or are extended, over-exaggerated versions of what's happening in real life. And all the stuff with Seth and Punk, there's a seed of reality in that, with Seth not wanting Punk back and all this sort of stuff. There's a lot there as well with the history of Punk and Heyman, as you mentioned. There's a lot of that triple threat was, I mean, as wonderfully put together in the video package. The Machine Head, with backing, musically backed by Machine Head, video package, which, by the way, for me is up there now as one of the best they've done. It was a wonderful 5 minutes of television, a wonderful promo clip, absolutely glorious, showing the history that all these people have shared. Yeah. And touching upon the history that all these people have shared in real life behind the cameras. That's what makes these things a little bit more special, isn't it? And I thought the triple threat was wonderful. And that one spot as well, where, what was it, a GTS into a spear, into a stomp, or whatever order it was in.
Everybody was
all
down.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, brilliantly done.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I mean, I won't go into too much yesterday's, because I was on yesterday's show as well, so don't need to. So go back and listen to yesterday if you want to hear what me and Tyler thought of night one of WrestleMania. But I thought, I said it in yesterday's show, but like the Charlotte match, the Tiffany Stratton match, I thought the build wasn't that good, and I wasn't overly into it. But I thought that, all right, there were moments, and you could tell. I said this to Tyler yesterday. You could tell that Charlotte was leading the match, and that's the veterans tend to. That's how it works. But there was a few missteps, but overall, I was like, this match is really good. Now, whether my expectations were low, I don't know, but I actually really enjoyed the match.
Yeah,
and there's
I can get on board with that. I mean, I've got one little complaint about it, and it's probably a personal thing.
Yeah,
more.
It's all personal, really, isn't it? Side, to be fair, it's all subjective. Of course it is. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Obviously this is sports entertainment. It's not shoot fighting. It's not boxing. It's not UFC or MMA or anything like that, where you would see the lady fighters, especially in the MMA, with their hair braided, tied back so no one can grab it. It's out the way and all that sort of stuff. I appreciate we're not going to have that in WWE. That's a step into realism that they won't do because appearances still very much matter in the world of WWE, whereas in MMA, it's a bit more of a realist world, of course, and you have to be a bit more sensible with your attire. But the bloody amount over-the-top blonde hair extensions between the two of them, there were moments where they're on the mat, and I couldn't decipher who was who because it was just a ball of blonde hair.
Yeah.
And again, this is just me watching, and this is the last but one match of the evening. It's the early hours of the morning. I'm several beers deep, so my vision is probably a touch blurry anyway. But yeah, that I struggled with a little bit. Tiffany Stratton, beautiful lady, glorious, lovely, wonderful looking blonde hair. All the extensions in and all that, fantastic. Charlotte Flair, the same, lovely blonde, long hair, all the extensions in, look fantastic. But then when you put them together, was it a bit much? You couldn't quite, do you know what I mean? Especially when they're on the mat and scrapping, it was almost like the hair was getting in the way a touch. It's only a little pet peeve of mine, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought it up is because actually I know we talked about doing one thing. I thought we might as well do it while we're here. The Women's Tag Team Championship, because there's a correlation I just want to make between the two of Charlotte and Becky Lynch, and Becky Lynch returned to team up with Lyra Valkyria. Current Women's Intercontinental Champion. Bayley's injury is a work by all accounts. So she got attacked, so we'll see. And the reason I wanted to talk about it very quickly, and it was brought to my attention actually it wasn't actually my own, somebody else said it to me. I was like, do you know what? I never even thought of it. And I thought it was a really good point. The hate for Charlotte is what I'm trying to get. The backlash for her coming back and winning the Rumble. Yes, there was an injury involved and all this kind of stuff. And fans are getting disgruntled because she was like, she's come back, she wins the Rumble, and now she's going to Mania. Shouldn't she, fans want people to stay and wrestle and put their bodies on the, pay their dues, basically, is what the general gist is with that. Becky Lynch, the man, and I'm not digging at Charlotte or Becky Lynch actually for this, so it was just a correlation that was made that people are shitting on Charlotte Flair. I was one of them, and I said yesterday on yesterday's show that I was wrong, and I'm happy to admit that because it was a bloody good match, I thought, overall, and they proved me wrong, and that maybe I've taken Charlotte Flair for granted a little bit. She's going to be in the Hall of Fame, let's face it. Becky Lynch disappeared. Obviously, she had a kid at one point. But then when she came back, she beat Bianca Belair in 10 seconds, 20 seconds at SummerSlam. Then before that, she was in the main event at WrestleMania, which is great for the women to do, but she won that match against Ronda and Charlotte. And now she's come back again and become a tag team champion. Now, I'm not shitting on it, but it's a weird, fickle thing that us fans, and I was one of them, that did it against Charlotte. So why aren't people, and maybe they will, I don't know, Si, because it only just really happened, doesn't it? But people aren't really shitting on Becky for coming back and becoming a tag team champion straight away. I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that sort of the fickleness. I suppose we're all fickle, so
Charlotte coming back, winning the Rumble. We all knew she was back in the Rumble before it happened. That was so. It gave people a lot of time to react before it actually happened. So any surprise was took away. So any excitement of that moment, that pop, there she is, was took away. So by the time people saw her in the Rumble, And, the old adage, Cena wins lol, as people used to say online. It's the same with Charlotte, isn't it? Charlotte wins lol is the thing that you see tweeted quite often. There was plenty of time by the time she actually entered the Rumble and won it for people to expect that to happen, and the hatred may be a strong word, but the dislike for the fact that Charlotte gets put in these positions so often, it was allowed to escalate.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
With Becky Lynch, everyone's looking at that entranceway. Nobody really knows who it's going to be. Bayley was written out I feel for Bayley here, by the way. I really feel for Bayley.
I think it was
I'm a big Bayley fan. But Bayley was written out the day before. So no one's had any real option, any real time to process who this could be. I mean, there's obviously people making guesses and so on who the partner could be, of course.
Of course,
and Becky's name probably came up quite a bit, because we all knew she was there. She was at the Hall of Fame with her husband. But until that music hits, you don't actually know.
Of course not, no.
So when that music hits, and she's up against a heel team, so she's returning in theory as a babyface. When that music hits and it's a surprise, people are naturally going to react in a positive way. It doesn't matter who the person is. When that music hits and it's a surprise, it's human nature to go, oh, why? Because you're excited.
Yes.
So that's why she's going to get that babyface response. We're now recording, you and I, Benny, a day removed from this. I imagine there's going to be a little bit of a backlash against Becky Lynch at some point. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it was potentially Becky who attacked Bayley in the storyline, and that's how they work her into a heel turn. Or perhaps it was, you'll have to help me here, I struggle with the lady's surname, Lyra Valkyria, is that correct?
Valkyria, yeah.
Valkyria, okay.
Yeah.
To me, it's relatively obvious outside looking in, as I am with WWE. One of those two will be the one who attacked Bayley, and one of those two will then turn heel for Bayley to be the face avenging what's happened. Was it Becky to get the WrestleMania spot? Who knows? But this isn't the end of this story. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
and the positivity towards Becky Lynch, I expect, when the excitement of her returning dies down, the positivity will eventually turn away, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I did read and again, this is all, I think it was on Wrestle Talk, I think it was. I read an article that the Bayley thing actually was planned weeks ahead. So they've just done that for the shot. But again, we don't know this for a fact. So if that is so, fair enough, they've done that. I kind of been waiting for Bayley to turn, to be honest with you. There's a history with Lyra and Becky. I think mainly in a mentee type thing going on. Lyra Valkyria she's from Ireland as well. She wanted to be a wrestler. And now whether this is genuine and true, I don't know, because obviously they've used things before in the past to make it seem like, because they're from the same country, they seem like they are looked up to this person, which probably is the case with Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch, to be fair. But
you got to remember as well that to the WWE, and not all American wrestling fans, I don't want to offend our overseas listeners, but a lot of wrestling fans online, if you say to them England, they just assume you're from London. If you say to somebody they're Irish, they just assume everyone lives in the same house in Ireland. It's that small. So yeah, that's the vibe, isn't it? It's like you say to some, I'm from England. Oh, you must know that guy then. No, it's that kind of feel, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it adds to the story. So I genuinely, I don't know whether there was a thing there or not. I don't know, but I predicted that maybe Bayley would maybe team up with Naomi and turn heel, and the Naomi thing and the Jade Cargill thing, and that hasn't happened. That's not to say that it won't. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria had an excellent match on Raw not long ago for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So I was actually expecting maybe this match originally, when Bayley was involved with it, I thought maybe they wouldn't win the tag titles and Bayley would lose her shit and attack Lyra again. And that would go into a program down the line into Backlash, maybe for the Women's Intercontinental. But obviously, things change. Apparently, this was planned weeks ahead. So again, you've kind of got to be a couple of weeks ahead on yourself when you're writing these things or producing these programs, because you need to know where you're going with it, don't you? You can't just make, sometimes you might call an audible and things change on the night sometimes. We've heard stories.
But at WrestleMania,
Yeah, you don't want that, do you? Because you need to,
No, you need to make sure that Apparently, Becky's been ready to return for a long time, and I kind of like what I read here. But Becky's been ready to return for a long time, and they've just been waiting for the creative to be right for it,
Okay.
rather than hot shotting it and crowbarring it in and so on, which
Just
is
for
a
the
nice
sake of it,
thing to see. Because
Yeah.
in previous years, in the previous years, it's a case of, oh, let's just force them on screen and see what happens. So it's nice that the patience has prevailed with this, and we get this moment, because that music hitting. I'm not a massive Becky Lynch fan, but again, it's testament to human nature, isn't it? When that music hit, I was excited. I was surprised, and my daughter enjoyed it. But yeah, it's not going to be a situation of let's change this in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Obviously, if injuries happen, like legit injury, then things have to be altered. But yeah, it's WrestleMania, for crying out loud. This wasn't a scripted decision. 20 hours before they went live or any nonsense like that. And you see people online going, "Oh, poor Bailey, I feel for her. The WWE have screwed her," and all this sort of stuff. It's like, yeah, calm down.
Again, like I think it was allegedly planned weeks before, and she would have known about this. There's going to be something out of this, whether it's Becky being the person to attack Bailey, whether it turns out just by association, maybe it could be beyond. We don't know. That's the point, and that's what I love. And like which we'll get onto in a bit. Well, I won't talk about it now, but the whole like Orton. Me and Tyler were trying to guess who Orton's opponent was going to be and stuff, which we'll get onto in a little bit, but. We put out a few names yesterday on the show, and one of the names we put out was right, but like we didn't know until that music hit, like you said, and it was. You know what? It's nice not knowing, Si, as you said. I genuinely, and the way TV works nowadays, you can kind of see it. Like 1 week we'll have a bit of this story, next week we'll have a bit of this story, then the week after we'll have a bit of that story, and the other story might creep in a little bit, but they're not rushing it. They're not just ramming it down. Like I said to Tyler yesterday, even down to the wrestler's attire. Whether it's a logo behind them when they're doing a promo, or whether there's a certain piece of attire they're wearing, or something that they say you don't really pick up on at the time, but 2 weeks later you go, "Oh crap, he said that," and so this must mean
planting the seeds, mate.
Planting the seeds, and I absolutely love it. The amount of times we see people arguing in the back of promos on Raw or SmackDown that has nothing to do with the story in front of us right this second, but has another story that's going on. Fills out the universe again. It felt like, back in the day when Jericho accidentally walked into Kane with a cup of coffee. It's so simple, but it made you feel like these wrestlers were having arguments backstage while the matches were going on. Whereas in before now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they just kind of addressed that story then and there, and nothing else was really. It all felt separate. I think I've said this before on the show back last year, but now it all feels like. Cody could be talking to not Samantha Irvin, Kathy Kelly or whatever, and next thing you know, Logan Paul walks past and AJ Styles is having a go at him or something. That didn't happen, obviously, but you know what I mean? It's filling out the universe, and that helps.
Which, on that point, you're right. The more things like that, the better. But what did you make of this announcement they had over WrestleMania weekend of this new reality-based TV show they're going to do about the writing room and creating the storylines? Did you see that announcement?
I did not. I thought you were going to bring up the AAA acquisition, actually. That's what I thought you were going to bring up.
Well, that's the AAA, yeah. We're just going to have to wait and see how that one pans out. There's so many variables in that.
Of course, yeah.
But
no, I didn't see this. What's this?
Okay, this was announced during Mania. Michael Cole was sat there at the desk talking about it. And obviously, it was just an announcement that this is a new show coming up. So we didn't get all the details of what was exactly going to happen.
Yeah.
But it was something to do with behind the scenes reality-based television, looking at the writing room and the creation of WWE storylines and all this sort of stuff and the arguments that stem from it. Now, that's all the information we've effectively got. So it's difficult to judge and be fair because we haven't got any information to judge upon, of course. But I am a little concerned because I think back to Total Divas. Not that I was a big fan of Total Divas in any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
But clips were shared online of Total Divas episodes. And you would have people in Total Divas cross that somebody was doing something on the television show they weren't, which would then turn into a feud, and they would have a match on Raw or SmackDown. And it was effectively saying, what we're doing in our reality television program here is real, but it's now going to get incorporated into that fake stuff we do on TV.
Yeah.
And if that's the vibe they're going to go with, if we end up having, I'm thinking like the Real Housewives of fucking wherever and all that nonsense and Towie and all that. If we have people having disagreements on this show about the direction of characters or storylines or anything like that, that to me is a little bit too inside baseball. That to me is pulling the curtain back a little bit too much. You know, we all know how it works, but you want to suspend your disbelief.
Of course.
If we've physically got a show that influences the main show, but the show we've got is pointing at the main show even more and saying this is not real, I think that's a complete step in the wrong direction. Now, again, I don't know how this show is going to work. I could be way off.
Yeah.
But my alarm bells were just ringing a little bit. My concerns were just there, you know?
Was this on the main show of Mania? I mean, it might have been when I
think so, yeah. I think that's when I saw it, yeah.
Okay, well, it might have been a moment where, because when they were showing like the adverts for the merch and stuff, I may have gone and grabbed a drink or used the loo or whatever.
Yes,
so
yeah.
I may have not seen that. So I don't remember hearing about it or seeing it. So I must have missed it in one of my drink/toilet breaks, I guess. It was a 4-hour show. Well, 3 and a bit for this one. So yeah, no. But based on what you've said now, Total Divas, I only saw a handful. And again, like you, I wasn't overly interested, but I always felt when we watched it, it felt scripted as hell. Like I think a lot of reality TV shows, not that they're scripted necessarily, but they say go there and talk about this, you know. And I feel I feel like a lot of that was set up so that to make more matches on the main thing. I could be completely off base there. That's how I took it. If they're going to show writers and how they come up with stuff, they need to. I think you're right to be concerned. Again, not knowing anything about it, just based on what you've told me, they need to be careful with that. I mean, it'd be interesting to know. I'm not really interested in necessarily the writing of it. I'm interested in like the technical side of things and how they put stages together and how they built the Elimination Chamber and how they built. Do you know what I mean? In the ring and all that, more of that technical stuff and how they set up for the day, but not how they create TV or write their content. I
suppose the thing is though with. The thing is with that, and we're going a little bit into the weeds now, aren't we? We should probably come back to Mania.
Yeah, we will in a moment.
But I think when you look at a show showing how they build, they take over these arenas and build up their sets and put the ring together and set up all the technical side, like you said, that would be fascinating. I find that very interesting as well, BenNny. I think you're right. But once that's done and we've seen it, we know how it's done. That's a dead end product.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Anything else, you will get weekly television from again and again and again and again. And it'll just go on. So that would be the difference, I think, that they could potentially look at. But we'll have to wait and see on that one, mate. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I must have missed it. I did miss it. I mean, I've watched countless hours of like the Monday Night War series that was on the network, and then the subsequent DVD way before the network was a thing. Watching the rise and fall of ECW and stuff like that, but they didn't go into too much detail on how they wrote the show. You can kind of guess. You've been a long-term wrestling fan. You can kind of see what they're doing, if that makes sense. So yeah, we'll have to obviously. What was it? We'll stick a pin in that for now, and we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll react to that a bit more when we know exactly what the show is. But I understand your concern with it, and actually, based on what you've told me, you don't want to give. I know the curtains pulled back and kayfabe and blah 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 is kind of, but. We, like you said a minute ago with Punk and Seth, we do have occasionally, we know that these guys have had words in the past, and we know there's a seed of truth to their rivalry, and that's what makes it interesting. Yep. So we don't necessarily want to go back now and go, imagine now, a year later, and we see this, oh no, they're actually best friends, they go fishing together, they go hunting together. That would absolutely just take away from their animosity with each other over the last year and a bit, what we've seen on TV, in terms of that.
Yeah, of course.
So, no, I understand. Let's get out of the weeds, as you say. I've got the shears out. Let's go to the main event, because I feel a lot of people are going to want to know about this and what you think and what I think, maybe. There's a lot of stuff online already. I will go to one of the comments quickly. So, at In the Corner WWE on Twitter, and also at Chain_Wrestling. Thank you for putting it outside. I didn't do it purely because I was still I didn't watch it as it was live. I watched it the day after. So
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go on
That was
social
my
media.
that was my thought process. I know you had your daughter, and your watching windows were different to mine, so that was my thought process.
So I appreciate that big time because I wanted to go on there and share stuff, but I didn't want to go on to social. And then, like I said yesterday with Tyler, the amount of times I've done it before where I've gone on to social and the first thing, like the F1 or something like that, or even wrestling mainly, is like, oh yeah, this person won. Oh, for fuck. And
spoilers.
It's like I'm going to see this film next week, and somebody goes, oh yeah, this happens. But they don't go, oh, you'll like it because I know you like this. They go, oh, this happened in the film. And you go, well, there's no point. That 20, 30 quid I've dropped to go to the damn cinema is a waste of money now because I now know.
30 quid to go to the cinema now, is it?
Well, it's got to be. Well, once you buy your ticket, which is probably 15 quid at Cineworld, then once you buy snacks and pay for parking, yeah, you're easily dropping 30 quid. I live over in the
bollocks to that, mate.
The Ross on Wye area near the forest and stuff, and there's a cinema over here in Cinderford, which is like you pay I think I paid £5 to go in and see the Moana film with my daughter, and her ticket was like £3.
That's better.
And it's local.
Yeah, that's better.
Support the local, so that's what I do, mate. And then you don't
definitely,
resent going. I want to keep the film industry going. I enjoy films, as you well know, but there is a point of like, for fuck, imagine, right? No, that's a different podcast. I'm getting into the weeds again. Mate, we've gone into. It's been a while, anyway. And main event WrestleMania Undisputed Championship. Cody Rhodes defending against John Cena. John Cena's chasing after that elusive 17th title win for the second year in a row. In my house, we had tears at the WrestleMania event. This time, though, was a very angry, upset little girl, and actually was even still upset when I dropped her off earlier. And to be fair, I had a few tears as well when I saw her crying. To be honest, I'm not going to lie. I'm not hiding from it.
Yeah.
Her third WrestleMania, my 25th WrestleMania. We tried to work yours out. You were a few years ahead of me in terms of watching.
Yeah,
so,
steady.
I know, hey, there wasn't an old man joke this time. But if you're going to be chopsy about it, there will be an old man joke, all right, Grandad? I mean, not Grandad.
I think, looking back, WrestleMania 8, I can definitely remember watching from start to finish. My uncle taping it for me.
Nice.
And having that when it was, because that's when I was watching Wrestling Challenge and Prime, or whatever the weekly TV was back then, and you had Sid Vicious and Savage and Flair and the photos, and I was buying WWF magazine and all this sort of stuff at the time as a kid. WrestleMania 8, 100%, I watched and was potentially my first proper full Mania. 7, I may have. But the memory isn't so strong, so that you're kind of looking in that sort of ballpark, really, I think.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, her third WrestleMania, she absolutely loved it when Cody won last year. I've kind of had to sort of be like, I didn't break the illusion for her, but I was like, don't worry, Cody will get his own back. I don't know when it will be, but it will happen. We might, and I even dropped in there just in case. I said, we might have to wait till next year because we don't know where this is going. Or we know Cena's going to be around for the rest of the year. I mean, we'll get into the whole match and stuff to a degree in a moment, but I just want to. I know you were a Ric Flair fan growing up. I only know Ric Flair's work, a little bit of WCW, and I've seen older stuff that he's done. Like there's a few, I think War Games and stuff like that. And I know he was, he's always been the 16-time world champion, and that's who I've always known as the guy to be the 16 world champion. I loved his stuff with Evolution and all that. Obviously, that was the real sort of. And when he came in as the half owner of WWF at the time, that was my first real. I knew who Ric Flair was. I'm not an idiot. And there's certain wrestlers, even if I'm a full-on WWF fan, WWE fan, there are people I've said before outside of the bubble of WWF or WWE that you kind of hear the name and you go, "Who's that?" And then you go and so. I was aware of Ric Flair, but my first real sort of seeing him in the ring was obviously first as a co-owner. Then obviously he did have matches. Then the Evolution stuff, which I absolutely loved. To be fair, the Evolution stuff. But your thoughts now of John Cena breaking that record? I mean, the record is a bit up in the air anyway, as somebody told me on how many I think it might have been you that said actually, because they've always said he's a 16-time world champion, but I think it was you that told me he may have actually won more.
Yeah, well, it depends. It depends which set of records you look at. You have 16 world titles is what WWE recognizes. If you ask Flair, he's won more.
Yeah.
And there are instances where titles change hands. Like, for example, in when would it have been? 89, 90, 91, 90 maybe? I have to go back and have a look at the dates properly, but
Yeah.
there are times when Flair would go to Japan, and on the first night of a tour of Japan, he would drop the NWA World title to whoever he was working on the tour of Japan, and then that Japanese wrestler, the top guy in Japan, would defend the NWA Championship, the big gold belt, their world title, for the rest of the tour. And on the last night of the tour, would drop it back to Flair so he could go back to America with it and just carry on.
Yes.
Now, those title changes Flair acknowledges and talks about them in his book. Those title changes the people in Japan most likely acknowledge. I know the wrestlers themselves would do. WCW would never speak of it on air, though. Or Jim Crockett Promotions and the NWA, before it became WCW, would never acknowledge it on air. And it's the same. I mean, it happened in this country.
Yeah.
Very recently, a WCW house show from a 1993 UK tour surfaced on the Vault channel, and it's a wonderful watch. Real sort of snippet of history. This house show, and Sting and Vader were feuding over the world title, and one of them, I can't remember which way around it was. I think it was Vader dropped the world title to Sting at the beginning of the tour. Sting did the UK tour as champion. Then the last leg of the UK tour, dropped it back to Vader. WCW never acknowledged the title change. Because it's just what they did for house shows. Because none of these things were supposed to be televised.
Yeah, I actually have not a Ric Flair. Well, it is technically a Ric Flair story, because back in 2007, I went to a house show in Newcastle, and I remember the main event being, I think it was Edge, Umaga, and Randy Orton against DX, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H, and Cena being the champion at the time. But also on the tour, I don't know if you remember this, the Spirit Squad. Do you remember them? That freaking where Dolph Ziggler came from.
Yep.
They were the World Tag Team Champions on TV. When we got to Newcastle, me and my mate, to see the show, Ric Flair and Roddy Piper came out as World Tag Team Champions. But by the time they got back to TV and I saw Raw the next week, the Spirit Squad still had the belts and it wasn't actually acknowledged. And the only time I ever knew they acknowledged a title change was just before Survivor Series 2001, and Christian had beaten Bradshaw for the European title. And JR actually said on TV, oh yeah, he actually beat him on a tour, blah, blah, blah. And that was the first time ever that I had known that's happened. Then, of course, years later, saw the great Ric Flair and Roddy Piper as tag team champions. And they had a match against the Spirit Squad and retained that night. So, but like I said, by the time they got back to TV...
It used to be... Yeah, it used to be. We're going into the weeds a little bit, but a little bit house show kind of the way things work, I suppose. It used to be a way of bumping attendances. So, well, first of all, TV tapings used to run. They'd be recorded and wouldn't be shown live. So there were numerous occasions in the WWF and back in the Jim Crockett Promotion days before it became WCW and all that, where titles would change hands. Normally, not the world title, because that wouldn't be the case, but tag titles, the US title, maybe the six-man titles they had back in the 80s. But the title would change hands on a TV taping, but in the house shows, the defeated champions would still go around with the belts, because the show hadn't aired on television yet.
Yeah.
To try and keep the timeline right.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, but then you'd also have other scenarios where people eventually got wise to belts not changing hands or big title matches not having a decisive victor on house shows. It would be live TV or especially pay-per-views. You look at title changes and big moments tend to be on the pay-per-views. So over years and years and years, the audience gets programmed into that mindset. So they stop going because they can go for an evening at the wrestling and have fun, but your attendance would drop when people would be looking for big moments, title changes, and so on. So every now and again, they'd have a title change on a house show, and then the following week on WWF Superstars or WCW Worldwide or Saturday Night or whatever, they'd show you a clip of the house show and go, "Look what happened in, the arsehole of Florida last Sunday afternoon. In this pokey little gym with only 50 people there. Such and such won the United States Championship, and now they're the champions and all this. Anything can, and that's where the line comes from. Anything can happen in the WWF.
Yeah.
So then that all of a sudden, then people start buying tickets to house shows again because they're thinking, well, hang on a second, AJ Styles is defending the world championship in my backyard. Something might happen there.
You never know.
Normally wouldn't, but they do something like that to give the attendances a little kick in the backside if they're starting to drop down a little bit. Well, so it's all promotional tactics and so on, really.
They did that a few years ago, didn't they? I say a few years ago, probably more than a few years, but with AJ Styles in Manchester over here.
That's right, yep.
The attendance was poor. And then so probably one of the better decisions, they went, right, we're gonna make AJ Styles win the title, and everybody that was gonna go that didn't go now go, shit, I should have gone. So now, like you said, it bolsters up, and they did it with Finn and Samoa Joe with the NXT title. I think Samoa Joe beat Finn. It might be the other way around. I can't remember. It's been so long. But a random house show, and you're like, oh, crap. So again, like you said, to bolster the attendance, it makes perfect sense. Why not make it feel like anything can happen, Anyway, back to WrestleMania.
It's back to the main event, yes.
Yeah, this happened with me and Tyler, mate. Don't worry about it. Yeah, anything can happen on In the Corner.
We say anything can happen, but... we all kind of knew this was going to happen, didn't we?
I think we all kind of said on the prediction show, didn't we, that we figured this was going to, if not now, why wouldn't you do it now with Cena in his last year?
Yes.
So it made perfect sense. Now, I didn't. It was a slow start. The middle of the match was pretty good, and overall the match was. And when I say basic, I don't mean this in a negative, but it was a bit like the Jey Uso. Gunther match. There were moments, but it was a good match. It didn't have necessarily stupidly amounts of high spots, I guess. Now, when there's a lot of people whinging about the end and the Travis Scott, I thought it was a bit disjointed and a bit he took a long time to get to the ring as well. He's meant to be there helping Cena, I guess. So this Travis Scott. Now, he was there because he was there the previous month at Elimination Chamber. He genuinely gave Cody Rhodes a black eye. I think...
And he damaged his ear as well, didn't he?
Burst his eardrum allegedly as well, so he definitely had a black eye. But it just took a long time to get to the ring. I think a lot of people were expecting The Rock to make an appearance as well. Maybe we'll see him on Raw. I don't know whether they're going to go to Cena on Raw straight away, but then this is a record-breaking title. Now, this title was meant to be on SmackDown.
Well, he said, didn't he? Have you seen any of Cena's press conference or anything like that?
I have not, no. I didn't see the press conference.
Right, okay.
Because I didn't have time, basically.
Cena walks out on his own with the belt, takes the Cody Rhodes side plates off, throws them on the floor.
Wow.
They say, okay, front row, right-hand side, seat number 2, whatever, and these interviewers ask questions. And they asked things like, can you talk about your relationship with The Rock? Can you talk about what it was like to win your 17th world title? Can you talk about the crowd reactions to everyone tonight? And, whatever. Standard kind of generic questions. And every single question they asked, John Cena responded with, that sounds like a clickbait question. Lazy reporting. Next.
Wow, okay.
Didn't actually answer fuck all, and then at the very end stood up and said, you really want to know about this? You want to know about me ruining wrestling? Tune in to Monday Night Raw, and I'll talk to you then.
Okay.
So he's going to be on Raw by his own admission there. So
I mean, it's hard not to see him not to be on. I know the title's meant to be on SmackDown, but it's hard not to be, record-breaking championship win. It's just hard not to see him straight away on Raw, Also, I want to sort of, especially this match on its own, because the way Cena's been, the whole heel run has been brilliant, and he hasn't changed the way he dresses. He's not changing himself. It's us the fans, who are the toxic ones, and we're the reason why. He's breaking up with us. That was the whole line. Coming out to WrestleMania with no John Cena on the screen, all black, basic thing.
Great.
Is almost, and then it's almost like in the match he's gone out of his way not to give us an epic match as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I've seen a few people have that mindset that maybe this is the intent. And he is using the line, apologies if you're hearing these motorbikes going up and down my road. It's a sunny day in Gloucester, so the people go boy racing, don't they? He has said the line that he's going to ruin wrestling and all this sort of stuff. So if maybe he was giving us a dull match, etc. And perhaps this is the way this is going to be, and it's going to be a run like that. And
he's not going to give us
again,
what we want, basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, exactly. So perhaps that is the case. But my mindset is it's the biggest. The two main events were the two biggest matches, rightfully so. That's what the main event should be. You could argue one was bigger than the other either way. But we're looking at this one at the moment. So we'll say this is the bigger of the two because it was going on last, and it was for the title. And it's something that we've never really seen before on this level between these two individuals. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You're already potentially not going to send the fans home happy with the babyface dropping the championship, even though the crowd reactions were a little bit were mixed or just outright cheering for Cena at some places.
I've seen a Rock Hogan, it's a very Rock Hogan WrestleMania 18 vibe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got 20 years of Cena and you've got the new fans with Cody and stuff. So sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So but you're already running the risk of not sending the fans home happy with the result, which is something WWE don't tend to do too often at WrestleMania. The fact that people are saying they might have chosen to send people home unhappy by giving them a poor product by choice, a bad match by choice, I struggle a bit with. I don't see any logic behind that in this scenario.
I didn't mean they did it. They did it on purpose to make it a bad match. Sorry to cut you off.
Right,
but just Cena's
there was a few people online saying, "Is this the plan?" Yeah.
Cena's demeanor. I mean, he doesn't want to. He's not going to. We're so easy to manipulate. We're so easy to read. I'm not going to give you what you want. Even though you can't see me, which everybody did chant. He didn't do it at Cody. He was very towards the fans in the arena, like, you can't see me, like, sort of like, screw you. The whole attitude is what I mean. I'm not saying he put on a bad match on purpose, but he's not just doing the 5 moves of doom then, although he did kind of do them. But you know what I mean? He's like, I'm here. I know I'm better than Cody. I'm just gonna, and I think he's just a stripped back John Cena, isn't he? Because, like I said, not having the logos and stuff like that. And we were all expecting like a corporate Cena to come out, which maybe we might get tonight on Raw. I don't know, but everybody was expecting him to maybe in a suit but he hasn't changed his attire because he's not the problem. We are the problem as the fans.
I like that as well. The best. I mean, sometimes it's on changing things up is needed, of course. But when people turn from heel to face, they shouldn't. I don't think people should change the way they work, change everything about them, because then you're changing the whole character, and that doesn't make sense. Jake Roberts was the one for me. Jake Roberts would go from heel to babyface. But was always a better heel, of course, but when he worked as a babyface, he was still doing exactly the same shit he was as a heel. But he was just changed little tiny things, and people would cheer for him. Cena's doing very much the same thing, and it's really, really well done. The match itself, though, for me, I was crazy excited about this. Charlie was up with me watching it. She's a massive Cody fan. Cody's her guy. She is 16 this year. She knows how things work.
Yeah.
And she had a very open conversation with me about expecting Cody to lose. She hopes he will win, but expects him to lose. She understands how how wrestling works. Not the ins and outs to a level where we might overanalyze things as cynical old men, but she understands the ins and outs of bits of it now. So she was expecting the result. The match started quite slow, which I expected because it's a WrestleMania main event. These shows traditionally are quite long, even though now we're spread over 2 nights and the timing is much better with how they structure it. The main events still tend to be a good length match. I mean, last year's Cody Roman match went best part of 40 minutes, 45 minutes. The triple threat the night before went half hour-ish. And that's a decent length for an American wrestling promotion main event in a big, big super show.
Yeah.
So when they started slow, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go. And of course, you're looking at the time as well, and you're thinking, okay, well, we know they're going to go till 4 in the morning, 4:15 in the morning, whatever. So I can appreciate that. It picked up pace a little bit. the middle of the match was decent. It didn't blow me away, but it was decent.
Yeah, agreed.
And then Travis fucking Scott comes out. I've got no idea why this guy, this piece of crap is on my television. I've got no interest in him whatsoever. He's an artist, is it? Well,
Yeah, again,
artist, a musical artist.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I'm not interested. It's purely, I think it's we need to have Cody give him a receipt at some point after what happened at Elimination Chamber, and he was with The Rock when he, portrayed this offer to Cody at Elimination Chamber. So he seems to be in like Rock's circle. Again, eventually,
he's just horrid.
Yes, I agree.
I don't want him. He's got no place being in the wrestling business. If he hurts people like he did with Cody, he shouldn't be anywhere near them. If he comes out in the main event of WrestleMania here, which he's got, again, no right to fucking do, you can't tell me that there isn't somebody of substantial talent and ability who has paid their dues in this wrestling business who could get the equal amount of heat or potentially more than Travis Scott got already in the locker room.
Yeah.
It's a spot that's being took away from, pardon the phrase, but it's what they use in the business, isn't it? It's a spot that's being took away from one of the boys.
Yes.
You could have easily had somebody else work. If The Rock's not going to show up because he's too much of a big-time Hollywood piece of crap, he's turned up at Elimination Chamber, waggled his willy around, said, I'm in charge, Triple H, bow down to me, here's what we're doing, and then pissed off again. If The Rock's not going to bother turning up for Mania, why can't his lackey, second in command, whatever, be somebody who's actually in the wrestling business? So then when this guy makes an entrance, he's not missing his timing cues. He's not spending what seemed like 10 minutes to get to the bloody ring and making people look a mug because they're all lying around on the mat or stood there looking down the entranceway waiting for him whilst he's posing like he's the big deal he seems to think he is. No one's booing or cheering this guy for storyline reasons. They're doing it. He's got go away heat as opposed to heel heat, and that's a big difference. He now has come down, and in a supposedly massive historical moment, not just for John Cena but for the WWE, a 17-time world champion for the in the official records, we'll say, for the first time ever. I put that into context, for the first time ever in since records or the official records were sort of kept. This guy's mugs all over it.
Yeah. And I think that's the general consensus. What you've just said is a general consensus of now he is with The Rock. I mean, I would have quite more than happy to have, as much as we don't like him, but he is proving himself week to week and match to match. I would rather have Logan Paul team up with The Rock because at least that guy's there and he's full time and he's wrestling and he can actually do something and he knows how he's learning and he appreciates the business. I want to sit here and badmouth Logan Paul, but I'd rather have him doing something with The Rock and Cody and all that. I wouldn't
mind that.
Than this piece of crap. So I agree.
I think easily unlikable as well. Yeah. But at least you know you're going to have matches out of him and he understands the business. He's going to hit his cues. He's going to hit his timings. He's going to throw a right hand without potentially injuring your number one fucking star for crying out loud. But anyway, Travis Scott comes down. It's all gone to shit now. And then he interferes. Shenanigans happens. And that's the finish of the match. And I'm sat there thinking, okay, so is The Rock going to come out now and shake Cena's hand and crown him the new champion? Are we going to have a big brawl? Is there going to be a melee at the end with people running down?
Yeah, do you know what?
The decision?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I thought we were going to have maybe Rock come out like you said, and maybe we were going to have they start laying into Cody, and we have like some of Cody's allies come out to end the night on all right, well, Cody's no longer champion, and we've got a record-breaking 17-time world champion, but Cody has got allies, and we can see this brawl potentially in this story going forward. I mean, it will go forward regardless of it, but. Very flat.
For me, there you go. There you go. It's the end. It's the last thing you're seeing on the biggest event in quite possibly the biggest year in WWE's history.
Yeah.
You know, in recent history then, because they've had bigger years, as in the steroid trial was massive because they could have gone out of business. They've had bigger years, as in You know, the very first WrestleMania in '85 was obviously huge because that didn't work. We'd be looking at it quite differently. Oh, everyone knows
Yes,
that.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking
Yeah.
modern day, modern era. It's the biggest night in the most important 12 months of the modern era. And it went out with a whimper.
It did. I think also,
And-
like, this Travis Scott, I think you've nailed it perfectly. But also last year was a finale of Roman, Cody, the Dusty story, Cody's story, and the way they ended Mania last year with Cena, Solo, Jimmy, Jay, freaking Undertaker, which was insane. Rock, Seth, was such a big finale. Obviously, this is kind of the next chapter, and we're now building the story for potentially the next year or two. So, were people expecting pretty much what happened not the same as what happened last year, but we're expecting a bit more because of what happened last year at WrestleMania 40 with Cody becoming champion?
I just think it's a WrestleMania thing.
No?
Maybe not even. You think last year. You're right. Everything about what you just said about last year you're right. It makes perfect sense. But that's not the only year that's happened. We've had these huge moments at the end of WrestleManias for as long as I can remember. Even when the heel has won and left with the title, it's, people have maybe not been happy with the result, but they've been happy with the match or whatever. There's been a celebration of some description, or the babyface gets, I think back again, WrestleMania 8, the first WrestleMania I can really remember properly. Hogan was in the main event. That went to effectively a non-finish. Well, it was a DQ. Hogan won by DQ. But it felt like a nothing ending to the show again. And it felt like a bit of okay, that's disappointing. Then Ultimate Warrior makes his return, saves Hogan, and you've got Hogan and Warrior stood there celebrating. So the last thing you see, the last emotion you have when the show goes off the air is excitement.
Yeah.
And that's what you remember.
Yeah.
You got to bookend these shows. You got to start well. You got to finish well. Because all the stuff that happens in the middle, people like you and I will dissect till the cows come home. People like you and I will break down minute by minute, move by move, match by match, and the rest of the wrestling Twitter will as well. But your general wrestling fan, a great deal of what happens in the middle of a pay-per-view, a week, 2 weeks later, they're not talking about that. They're talking about what happened at the beginning and how excited they were.
Yeah.
And they're talking about what happened at the end, because that's the last thing they see. And what's happened here is the last thing we're seeing is your champion, your number one babyface, and the guy you're trying to appoint as the golden goose, the top fella, the next Hulk Hogan, the next John Cena, for want of a better, comparison, getting done over by a scrawny little rapper.
Yeah.
And a guy who admittedly isn't going to be here for very long. And then nothing else happens. He doesn't get any revenge on the night. The heel walks out with the belt, which again isn't the problem here. The heel winning is not the issue.
No.
It just felt like it was just a lead balloon. It just went boom.
Yeah. Do you know what they could have done, actually?
And all the air disappeared out the room.
Yeah.
All the air just disappeared out the room. The stadium was quiet.
Yeah.
It picked back up again, and they were cheering Cena. But everyone was expecting something. And again, I come back to, is The Rock such a big-time fucking Charlie that he couldn't be bothered to turn up for WrestleMania, of all places?
Maybe that's the point, if that makes sense, in terms of long-term heel heat. Maybe that's the point. I don't know.
Yeah, but pick your moments.
Yeah, I think actually now, because Cody did get older, Travis, and he hit him with this crossroads. What could have been better, actually, is maybe Cena wins. We don't have the crossroads on Travis. Cena wins. We have the record-breaking champion. Travis gets too big for his fucking boots, gets back in the ring, and Cody gets hold of him, hits a crossroads then, and that's how you go off with Mania. Yes, Cody's still no longer champion, but he's got his... Travis Scott got his receipt from Elimination Chamber rather than... I know he did give him the crossroads as that because he was the distraction, wasn't he, that led to Cena winning and all that in that. But yeah, you're right. They could have done it. It could have been a lot better. I'm assuming they would have done something off the air for the crowd to send them home happy. But it would have been nice for us people watching at home to just, even if a Punk came out to help with the night he had the night before, and maybe Jey Uso came out to help Cody fight off Cena and this scrawny rapper. It just something would have been better than
the simplest way of doing it. The simplest way of doing it, and I can understand why they didn't. But if you know you've got an ending to a match, that they know The Rock's not going to be there, but they've not advertised him, granted, and that's their get out. But everyone is expecting him, and WWE are not stupid. Triple H is not stupid.
Yes.
They know everyone's expecting The Rock. So when he doesn't turn up, they know people are going to be disappointed. They would know the ending of this match is a fart in church, right? They would know. Why not just switch the main events round? Why not have this match close Saturday? Because wrestling fans, people have already bought their tickets.
Yeah.
If you're there in the arena Saturday night, and that happens Saturday night, you're not going to go, well, fuck you, I'm jumping on a plane and going home. I'm not going to watch Sunday.
No, you're right.
You know?
Yeah.
And people have already bought, in the countries that pay-per-view still applies, people have already paid for the pay-per-view. Whether they actually put the pay-per-view on or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
The buy rate has already happened. You know, people are buying the 2 nights together. You know? So the numbers are already there. We've got X amount of buys. Doesn't matter if people actually turn the TV on or not. Saturday and then the Sunday night, yes, the heel wins the match. We have Heyman turning on everyone. Punk supposedly being stabbed in the back. Roman Reigns, dismayed because his whole family has fallen apart and he's lost his wise man. And Seth Rollins is the biggest baddie in the world alongside Paul Heyman. Oh my God, what's going to happen next? Tune into Monday Night Raw to listen to Paul Heyman explain his actions. And then you go off air. Everyone's going to be talking about it, which they still are with Cena and Rhodes. But everyone's going to be talking about it in a positive way and looking forward to Raw instead of in a negative way because Travis fucking Scott turned up.
Yeah, and actually, by doing the main event on the Cody Cena match on the Saturday, I get it because it's the 17th, championship and all that kind of. So I get it why they've done it, but you could have also ended with, like you said, Travis Scott, blah blah blah. Cena wins, Cody being screwed over. Oh shit, Saturday's over. That's crap. And then actually even switch Jey Uso to the first match on Sunday. So we come out of Mania Sunday with, for fuck's sake, Cody's no longer champion, but Jey Uso's just become champion, and we finish with the triple threat as well. So actually,
there you go.
Hindsight's brilliant though, isn't it? To be fair.
Yeah, hindsight is it's good to do. We can sit here and but in hindsight,
of course,
and create. Of course we can, but ultimately, you got a full-time job doing whatever you do. I got a full-time job doing whatever I do. We're not in the wrestling business full-time. Guys like Triple H, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Paul Heyman, all these guys with wonderful wrestling minds, they're in the wrestling business full-time and have been their whole lives. You can't tell me that not a single one of them didn't at one stage, whether publicly or privately, go, I ain't sure this is what's best.
Yeah. I mean, again, I understand why the Cody Cena match was the main event for Sunday, because it's the last match and it's for the 17th.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, but yeah.
But then give us a better finish.
Yes.
Don't send us home.
Yeah.
Don't send everyone home feeling so deflated. Because now, my mindset after Saturday night, I cannot wait to hear what Paul Heyman has to say.
Same. I'm looking forward to it.
I cannot wait. After Sunday night, I'm thinking, I don't even know if I'll bother watching Raw. I might just catch up online on Facebook or wherever.
That's a shame, isn't it, really?
That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's the difference,
Going to X quickly, so the comment you put out, so at In The Corner WWE on Twitter and at Chain_Wrestling and obviously at SJP Raw Media. Stevo from at Elite FPL _Stevo put, I genuinely enjoyed the Cena match until Travis Scott who came out, just ruined it. Honestly, that bit summed up why I just can't get invested or suspend my disbelief. Really disappointed. And that's a shame because people that don't watch consistently, I would say everything leading up to it, there's been a few missteps and a few things that I didn't like fully, but generally I've enjoyed the last few years of WWE. But when this stuff happens, for people who, like yourself, who maybe just jump in for Rumble and Mania and stuff, I'm not saying you do, but I know you keep an eye on it, but you're more of a, maybe I'm misspeaking, I don't know, but I was only, the last times we've spoke, so you were kind of more of a Rumble, WrestleMania. Even when I stopped watching for a few years, I would tune in for Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, and maybe Survivor Series. So I do those, know.
I mean, I would always watch the big four.
Yeah.
I tend to watch all the pay-per-views, to be honest. I tend to watch all the pay-per-views.
Okay, so you.
I wouldn't if I had to pay for them. I've very much fell out of love with AEW in recent years. Probably the last 18 months, I've very much fell out of love with AEW. They have pay-per-views now. I don't book them because I've got to pay for them. WWE, I can put on the network or now put on Netflix, which I've already got, and I can. So I will always watch the pay-per-views. Raw and SmackDown, I'll keep tabs on from listening to In the Corner, of course, and I'll keep tabs on via Twitter and Facebook and the YouTube clips that WWE themselves share. And then if something, my Virgin Media box, it's set on a series link, so it records it every week anyway. If something pops up and I think, oh, that looks good, I'll go back and watch it then. So it varies depending on what I see. But yeah, the pay-per-views I always watch.
Yeah. The other one is Dan Griffin 21, who I understand, so your partner from Doctor Who Pod,
yes,
is actually there or experienced it in the arena. So that's right. I'm very jealous. Lucky bitch. Said would love Dan. Mate, I'm just so jealous. I've always wanted to do, but fair play to you. But
he's there wearing the chain wrestling Vegas WrestleMania shirt.
Okay, so I take back the bitch because you're representing. I apologise, but yeah, man. I know.
For those who haven't seen it, it's the WrestleMania Vegas this year's logo, but with chain wrestling rather than WrestleMania.
Yeah. And
he took in various independent shows over the weekend as well.
Nice.
And got to meet Tank Abbott as well.
I did see that on X. Yeah. I did see that on X. Fair play to him. And I will say, if anybody wants some SJP Raw Media merch, the link is in the description below of this podcast. So that will take you to the store. And there's In the Corner stuff, chain wrestling stuff. There's Doctor Who stuff, Quantum Leap stuff. There's loads of stuff. So just check it out. Obviously, if you're a wrestling fan.
All being worked on at the moment. Now you brought that up, I might as well quickly mention it. All being worked on at the moment because the store is in the nothing to do with us. The store is in the process of effectively being handed over from one site controller to another. So there's going to be certain variables with regards to there's designs popping up that I discontinued years ago, and I keep messaging them going, what the hell's going on? But it's very much they're ironing out the bugs. Right. So yes, you can still buy, of course, and please do, because every time you buy something we get a little kickback and it goes towards the costs of running the network and the shows. I mean, what we're using to record today costs money. So everything, it's hugely, hugely appreciated when people do treat themselves to a little T-shirt or a mug or a hoodie, or just get themselves some goodies, because it goes towards paying for the upkeep of the shows and the network. But yeah, I will be advertising the store a lot more when it's actually in its final finished state.
Fair enough. I did not know that. That might explain why I tried to buy my In the Corner Usi hoodie the other day that we spoke about, and it wouldn't let me actually do it for some reason. Right, so I don't know why. So that's why I haven't actually got it yet. So
I'll look into that.
I appreciate that. But yeah, once keep an eye on that then. But we'll will announce it on SJP World Media on X, I assume, when it's all hopefully sorted out. So that's brilliant. But yeah, he put so Dan Griffin put, excuse me, don't care how it happened, just happy Cena 117, and Cody isn't champion anymore. Not wholly because he's not a Cody Rhodes fan, is what he said, but he feels Cody Rhodes is better in the chase and you get more mileage out of him that way. And I actually agree with that, to be fair. Cody is the chase that he did for Roman was brilliant. Steve Austin has even said back in the day he was always better at the chase trying to become champion than actually being champion. So yeah, that makes sense, Dan Spear. And I hope you genuinely, I was joshing about a minute ago, but I genuinely hope you had a brilliant time. Just very jealous that I have never done it and I would love to do it. But yeah, freaking. But the main comments I'm getting on here, by the way, the ones that you sent me that they've put on, there's a lot of like the Travis, so Sam Rogers at Sam Rogers 1988, that Travis Scott bloke coming out was completely unnecessary and it felt the match just stopped so the cameras could focus on him, and then he took forever to get to the ring, basically. And then he said, the only other thing Sam Rogers has said, big props to Stone Cold with the quad bike and the woman on the front row taking a bump. I actually happened to look down in that moment and missed it, and my daughter was like, what the hell's going on? And I saw, my mate sent me a clip. The quad hit the barrier, and the woman seemed to take forever to fall. Now, whether it was just she got startled and fell backwards, I don't know. But she seemed to sort of take the fall after it seemed to have settled down. But yeah, Stone Cold, maybe not driving that quad
She'll
anymore.
be milking that, mate. She'll be milking. She'll have whiplash. She'll have bad knees, bad back. She'll have she'll have mental issues now. She'll have
WWE
PTSD from her time at WrestleMania. She'll be milking that to fuck. If she's got any sense, she'll be getting the tickets next to green shirt guy in the front row for the rest of her fucking life.
Yes, and do you know what? I do it for tickets the rest of my fucking life as well. To be fair, apparently Nick Khan, the president of WWE, did go over and check on her, and I'm assuming there's probably been some sort of conversation. Hopefully she's genuinely okay. And I'm obviously Steve wouldn't have done that on purpose, but it was just a moment that just happened. Still not as much as of a car crash as Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 30, getting confused between the Silverdome and the Superdome, though. To be fair, so
Yeah, bloody Hogan. Oh dear me.
To be fair, mate, we've got a lot of mileage just out of the tag team match and the main event, so we'll go through the other stuff. Randy Orton's Open Challenge, and also thank you to the people that commented, by the way, so you can follow the show at In the Corner WWE on X, follow at SJP World Media as well, and for all the other shows, such as Chain Wrestling, which I understand is coming back live very soon, or am I wrong in saying that?
Yes. No, you're right. We are going for Tuesday nights again. Most likely 8 p.m. will be our start time. So traditionally what we were doing in the past. And we will be back a week tomorrow as this drops. So that will be the 29th, I believe. Let me just have a little look at my calendar.
Nice.
Yes, Tuesday the 29th at 8 p.m. Magsy and I will return, yeah.
I have not been on Chain Wrestling for a while. Obviously, I've not done this. This show's only just come back for Mania, and it's going to continue going through the year, so it's not ending just for WrestleMania. It just seemed like a good time to come back for WrestleMania. But if you ever need a third for whatever, I'm happy to, I'm sure a lot of people are. I loved going on there with you and Mags back in the day. I think the first show I ever came on with you, I was kicked off within about 4 or 5 seconds of being on. I was just for saying something to all. I can't remember. It was just obviously it was all a bit of fun. I love the show when I get a chance to watch it. And the stuff you guys dive back into the older matches. And I was saying to Tyler yesterday, the matches from night 1 and even night 2, I'm sure will probably make an appearance on Chain Wrestling in the future, because there were a few good matches.
Of course.
So,
of course, yeah.
Let's get on with it anyway. Randy Orton's Open Challenge. One thing I want to quickly mention, we did talk about this yesterday briefly, me and Tyler. We threw out a few guesses, Rusev being one of them. There was talks about Aleister Black, but there was a video package dropped on SmackDown which gave the date, who I assume is Aleister Black, which is the 25th of this month. So I wasn't expecting Aleister Black, even though that's what I said on the prediction show. We did mention Joe Hendry, but who did you think this was going to be, if any idea? And one other thing quickly I want to add, Randy Orton's gear, 20th, was it his 20th WrestleMania? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Randy Orton's gear, although not exactly the same, but the style, the blue and the yellow stripe, very reminiscent of his debut in 2002. So I don't know if anybody else...
Yeah, I spotted that. I like the little throwbacks like that.
Yes, yeah. So
my wife and I were talking. We basically ran through effectively what you were saying as well. We thought Aleister Black, Malachi Black, and again, now WWE have done very well here, because there was a lot of rumours about it being Aleister Black. So before WrestleMania, they put a date on those video packages to show it's not going to. They look at that, managing people's expectations.
It was brilliant,
so they're not disappointed.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
If only they could have done something like that with, I don't know, the main event and The Rock and all that nonsense. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Anyway.
The obvious choice was Rusev if he was going to come back, but again, we talk in hindsight, Benny. That would have been a great moment. But if Rusev returns, he has to win.
Yes, that was what we said about
on his comeback. As we mentioned,
yeah.
So in hindsight, you sort of think, okay. The other name mentioned by my wife and I on night 1, when we were talking about this match coming up on night 2, was Joe Hendry. And it was done a little bit tongue-in-cheek, a little bit like, oh, just imagine, that'd be funny as fuck, and I'd love it. And then we just glossed over it and carried on talking. So when it happened, even though we mentioned it, it was still a big surprise for us.
Yep, agreed.
And I get my hair off with people online. I've seen multiple accounts, and these. Okay, I apologise if I've gone a bit of a rant here now, but there's so many accounts on Twitter now that call themselves wrestling reporters or wrestling journalists just because they've set up their own website and they have got a Twitter account. Half of these people are fucking illiterate for a start. They can't spell. They don't know what punctuation is. It's embarrassing to read. My granddaughter, who can't even hold a pencil yet, could do better. And these accounts now, they're after clickbait responses. Oh, look at me, give me attention. I'm all doing, etc., etc. And so many of them are saying WWE buried Joe Hendry and have buried TNA because he is their champion. I saw one literally just before we came on to record today. That is the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard in my fucking life.
See, I don't agree with that at all either, because that's even though he's TNA champion, this is almost reminiscent of like John Cena's debut against Kurt Angle. John Cena didn't win, but you can do a match in a way that puts the guy over, and Orton, picks up Joe Hendry and sort of like, well done, kid, that was good, So, yeah, sorry, I've interrupted your rant, but yeah, I'm on par with what you're saying. Just because he's lost doesn't bury TNA. It's bullshit. What the fuck are you on about?
It's TNA get exposure because it's WrestleMania. It's the biggest night of the year. Their champion is in the ring with a genuine legend of this game. He's going to be, the main event guy in a Hall of Fame class at some point. Nailed on. It's his 20th WrestleMania, and their world champion is in the ring with him. He gets to do his pose, he gets to have his proper entrance, all of that in front of all those people. A wonderful reaction. It was a great WrestleMania moment. I adored it. The match went 3 minutes, and he's beaten by Randy Orton's finish. Yeah. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No.
That, if anything, that is exactly how it should be booked.
And also,
that's perfect.
The way Joe Hendry did his pose again, in looking at the camera and getting the camera to zoom in the match, and then Orton out of nowhere hits the RKO, which we've seen Orton do for his entire career, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So,
great finish, wasn't it? Great finish.
Yeah, if anything, Joe Hendry's, when you look at it from
it was just good fun.
Yes, and also from the character standpoint.
It was fun.
Yes, the character standpoint of Joe Hendry, yes, he loves to pose and people love it, but actually, in that moment, that pose cost him that match. Not that I really believe that Joe Hendry was going to walk out on Randy Orton's 20th anniversary at Mania as the winner, but they didn't just have him beat him. And if you look into the actual story of the match that happened, which wasn't very long and was good enough and was fine as it was, as far as I'm concerned, him posing for a moment to acknowledge the fans cost him, because Randy Orton's going to take advantage of it. So, but
you look at it, it couldn't have been done any better. You got to bear in mind, this match was something that was inserted into the card because Kevin Owens is sadly injured.
Yes,
Owens and Orton had this big build. The only way, realistically, WWE could have done anything with Orton on that card, because if Orton didn't wrestle because Owens was injured, that's a crying shame. Yeah. So the other options are you crowbar him into another match somewhere, which would make zero sense because everyone's got their own build, their own storylines that they've been working on for ages. So that wouldn't work, and people would reject that, and people would moan about that. Or you crowbar in a feud as quickly as you can. Somebody else comes along, attacks Orton out the blue. Oh, now he's got him at Mania. Again, feels crowbarred in, feels rushed. People complain about that. The open challenge for a really short, quick 3-minute match was perfect for the scenario that landed in their lap with Kevin Owens' injury. Yeah. Because it kept intrigue, it kept people wondering what was going on, it kept Orton looking strong because he was the one who said, I'm going to be there, who fancies this? Showing he's not scared of anyone come down. And like I said, it kept the intrigue with the fans. People were talking about it right up until that guy's music hit.
Yeah.
And then you get a wonderful WrestleMania moment. Joe Hendry's a fantastic character, a guy who's good in the ring, brilliantly entertaining. He gets a WrestleMania moment as well. I'm made up for him. A few years ago, this guy's working indies in the UK and working real small venues for TNA when he was making flights over there and so on. He's done fantastically well for himself.
He's had a great year.
When you look at the pride on his face, the emotion on his face.
Yeah.
The match goes 3 minutes. And most of all, like I said a couple of moments ago, it's great fun. And wrestling's supposed to be fun. Yep. I had a smile on my face all the way through that short match. it was fun, and that's what it should be.
But I also like the respect that Randy gave him after the match, and sort of if you go back and watch it, you can hear him saying, like, obviously it's all for the cameras and it's part of the story and everything, but like he's very much saying, you're the only one who had the guts to come out here and face me. Yes, he RKO'd him after as well, but it is what this is the Viper. We're expecting that from him. What I was going to say quickly about Joe Hendry, had a great year, gone viral with his freaking song. Became TNA World Champion in a great match that he had. Made an appearance in the Royal Rumble for WWE and made an appearance at WrestleMania. Not bad for a guy who's not actually contracted for WWE. To be honest, that's a fucking great year for him.
He's living his fucking dream.
Amazing.
And
mate.
Charlie, again, sometimes my daughter, I shouldn't ever be amazed because she's, as are all my girls, she's an incredibly intelligent, switched on, wonderful, brilliant, glorious child. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
But she amazes me every day. And she turned round and said, that guy's living his dream. How amazing is it for him?
It's amazing to
And
see.
she said this guy has done it by getting eyes on himself with his YouTube videos and entrances.
Yep.
He has put in the graft. He has worked hard, and then here he is having this moment. People, we got buried, and TNA got buried. Oh, fuck
Shut
me.
up.
Go outside, touch some grass. Give your fucking head a wobble, you idiot. You know
Take a
what
big,
you're on
deeper,
about.
fresh air or something, because it's not, that could be used in TNA as well for stories going forward. Obviously, there's this cross-brand sort of thing going on with WWE and TNA. We haven't seen the last of... Now, would we see a Randy Orton in TNA at the moment? Probably not, but to be honest, as we said earlier, never say never, because that would be insane, to be honest. But yeah, I buried. Fuck off. What are you on about? And obviously, there's a parental advisory on this program, which there is on most of the programs. So if you're still listening, then it ain't meant to be offensive. But just the people that say that TNA's been buried, don't be so bloody stupid.
I just get angry about it, mate. I try not to, and certain shows I behave in different ways depending on the topic and depending on what show I'm on. So Nitro Nights, I tend to be a little bit more looking at what happened and discussing it, and we have fun and so on, but I'm a little bit more sensible. Chain wrestling, I'm a bit of a daft idiot. Wrestling News Time Machine, I'm even worse. I think I get dragged down to Morty's level. But when I'm on here with you, I like to try and keep it a little bit more... Professional's not the right term, because I'm anything but a little bit more to the point, and let's discuss it, because people like to hear us break down what we're discussing.
Yeah.
But in those circumstances, I just get my hair off, because these fucking morons on Twitter, they buried TNA. Oh, fuck me. Put your phone down, go outside, meet a girl, talk to a person. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Can't remember what I was going to say now. Let's move on. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I honestly didn't. I thought AJ Styles would. I can't remember what I said in the prediction show. Logan Paul's having a great. I sit here and it's hard to like the guy, but the matches he has done, and at no point do I think he is the ring general or anything. He's learning, but what I'm getting from Logan Paul when he does these matches, he's a cocky shit and this, that, and the other, but what I see from inside the ring, he's not dangerous. He may have had a few moments where he's been a bit overzealous, but every time I see him wrestle, okay, yes, it's a product of who he's wrestling with and who he's training with, and I get that. It's a collaborative effort. But the match against AJ Styles and Logan Paul, I was looking forward to as much as any match that I've ever looked forward to, really. And I thought they put on a pretty good show, to be fair. The pulverizer finisher, I like it, but I'm a bit like... I feel like sometimes doesn't have full control of it, if that makes sense. But I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
But I kind of like this flip sort of DDT thing that he's doing, or what he calls the pulverizer.
Yeah, I quite liked it. I thought it looked... it's pretty spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I suppose for again, old school, sort of mindset, you're dropping someone on their head. It should be a 3 count. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah. We have the Brass Knucks coming to play with one of his entourage again. This time we have so we've got a bigger story going on here with Karrion Kross and AJ Styles, and there was a great promo which I've shared on at In the Corner WWE that he did on one of the Karrion Kross did on one of the after shows, which was very reminiscent of Miz's rant a few years ago over the IC title with Daniel Bryan and stuff like that, about 2017, I want to say that happened, and it felt genuine. And this cross promo felt genuine. So if you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out. I was going to play the audio, but I'm not quite sure if it will work on here at the moment, so because I didn't test it beforehand, so we won't do that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah,
But,
no worries.
Well, I know it will work. I'm not sure if you'll hear it is the problem. So there's no point me playing it for to me to comment on if you can't hear it. We'll test that for next time. But I thought a pretty good match. I'm not raving about it, but I thought it was a good match. Weirdly,
I
I think
it. It was solid enough. I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think weirdly, all right, AJ Styles lost, but how he lost is more important. The distraction and what Karrion Kross had to say after and what he's done before. There's a bigger story here between Karrion Kross and AJ Styles, which I'm looking forward to see how that plays out going forward. You're a guy that says what's next in wrestling. First of all, I know you've already kind of said a bit, but what you thought about the match, what you think about Logan Paul in WWE now, and what do you think's his future going forward after this win? I know, big questions, right?
Yeah. I again, you speak about who's on what brand and who's doing what on what show. I'm not massively familiar with that. I've got a rough idea, but I think they blur the lines a little bit with who's on what show and so on. I think Logan Paul by SummerSlam next year will be a world champion. We mentioned this on the prediction show, I think, didn't we? Between you and I. Or maybe it was when I did the prediction show with Magsy on Chain Wrestling.
Yeah. But I've had I've had the similar thought process that maybe the next 18 months,
I think that's going to happen.
We're going to see that happen. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be completely against him being the guy who takes the belt off Jay. He's going to be the heel in the scenario. He needs a babyface champion to go up against. All sorts could happen.
Of course.
I'm not talking, this has to happen in a couple of months. It could happen in 18 months, whatever. But I think this guy is... And it's difficult for me to say because I really want to hate him.
Same.
And when he first came into wrestling, I was very vocal about my hatred for this idea of this guy being involved. He's winning me over, His promos are great. His entrances are good. His ring gear looks good. And most of all, bell to bell, his matches are good. It's like...
It's hard to discount him, innit? It's hard to be like...
And he's not the finished article yet. He's going to get better and better.
And that's jealousy of earlier towards Dan Griffin for being at WrestleMania. The jealousy towards Logan Paul, who can enter this world and in 2 years, maybe almost 3, I'm not sure. I think it's about 2 years. I mean, his tag match with Miz, it was what it was. You have the other two, the other 3 guys to lean upon. The match he had against Roman at Crown Jewel for the title was really good, and it's almost like... I think you tune into Logan Paul matches, and like maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I feel like maybe others feel like this. You tune into a Logan Paul match because you feel like, you want to see him F up, and he doesn't, and I think that annoys people more. But like you said, you can't help but go, this guy's pretty good. You hate to admit it, but he is pretty good.
I struggle with celebrities in wrestling.
Yes,
getting involved in matches and so on. I understand why it's necessary because mainstream appeal, crossing into the mainstream, is very important for pro wrestling to... In the past, it's been very important for that to happen, for pro wrestling to be where it is today.
Yes.
The original WrestleMania was all about mainstream exposure.
Outside eyes.
And so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But actual in-ring, getting involved with the talent, taking a bump off someone, just giving them a punch or whatever, like Tyson or Mickey Rourke maybe with Jericho, that's okay. The celebrity gets a cheer, the heel gets put on his arse, fine. But I think it's very, very dangerous having celebrities come into the wrestling business and make your talent look daft, or even worse, make your talent look weak, if they're then going to disappear again.
Yeah.
Even if they don't disappear and they hang around, these guys have trained for years to be at the top level of what they do, and then somebody else can come in at a moment's notice and compete on their level. I think it downplays how talented the actual pro wrestlers are if a celebrity is allowed to look that way. But with Logan Paul, the longer he's here, the better, because we're avoiding that scenario now. We're avoiding the scenario of, he's come in and he wrestled Roman, who was the champion at the time, and was the number one guy, let's be honest, for multiple years. And he was able to, at moments in that match, look on his level. I'm not too keen on that. That was a bit early. And if that was a one and done, it's a bit like, okay, I'm not too happy with that. That doesn't sit right with me personally. But the longer Logan Paul's around, the less things like that matter, because he becomes part of the furniture, and the guy's talent is apparent for all, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think there will be a time where we'll be looking at Logan Paul and the crowd will, because he's not come. So Karrion Kross' story and the AJ Styles story is basically saying that this guy's come in, he's not paid his dues, he's not done the indies, he's not been doing this his entire life to try and get to this level. So that's the story that, Karrion Kross wanted AJ Styles to go to his old.
Okay.
That's the general gist of the story, and wanted AJ Styles to be his old self to stop this guy. The promo that Karrion Kross cut was like, I might as well have just started a damn YouTube channel, because I didn't need to go and train and do this training and go to these halls. And do you know what I mean? So that's the general gist of the story.
Okay.
Quick overview. So
I like it.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. I was unfamiliar with all that until you just mentioned BenNny.
Yeah,
so that's that.
So that's the story.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
So the reason Karrion Kross got involved was because he feels that it's for the future of the industry to not have these YouTubers or these people that don't pay their dues. So it's the old school mentality of, you've not paid your dues, so you shouldn't be having matches at Mania. I've been doing this for 15 years or 10 years or whatever Karrion Kross has been doing it for, and I'm not even on the card at WrestleMania, which is very apparent in the promo that I was telling you about. So it's on at In the Corner WWE on X right now, so you want to go and have a look at that if you haven't seen it, because it is really good. Again, reminiscent of Miz losing his shit on Daniel Bryan back in 2017 on that SmackDown show that they did after the show, which was really good promo. So yeah, it was. I can't remember what I was going to say after that, but yeah, it was just. There's more to it, and there's going to be more going forward, I think, with AJ and Karrion Kross, and I hope, because Karrion Kross deserves to have a bit more stuff as well, because actually he's really good. I just don't think we've quite seen it, because he was let go and he did that sort of weird gimmick that he was doing in NXT, and then it got changed. NXT, it was fine, but when it got brought to the main roster, he got made to put on that. Was it the hat? I don't know. The attire he had was weird. It
was like a Roman soldier, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was almost like reminiscent of 90s WWF. I was waiting for the trash man to walk out behind him. No offense to those guys in the 90s. It was what it was.
More Karrion Kross on TV means more of his wife on TV, and I am all about that, mate.
I was going to go there, but I'll let you do that. Right, so I think we've covered most. We're going to go. We've done that one, we've done that one, we've done the AJ. So yeah, I enjoyed the match with Logan Paul, and like you said, we've already discussed it, but it's hard not to, no pun intended, to row and acknowledge his in-ring ability. And if, like you said, he's not fully polished yet, so there is a lot more to come. And by all accounts, Logan Paul is now full-time WWE. He's gone all in on it. So, but of course, he's still being used as that sort of, to a degree. He's making more appearances on weekly shows than he used to, but he's still being that sort of big fight guy, isn't he? Because the Logan and the Paul.
He's an attraction.
Yeah.
So he's an attraction. Overexposure is, hot shotting stuff, overexposing people. It is a big issue that wrestling business has had for as long as I can remember. So you don't want to fall into the same trap when you've got somebody who's potentially money here with Logan Paul, have you? And
it's a good way of keeping him and getting him trained and getting him. And I think Logan Paul gets it. Like, Travis Scott coming to the fucking ring I don't think he knows what wrestling is, or he's too high to fucking know. I don't know. Moving on, Drew McIntyre, because we've covered that exclusively. Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest, Sin City Street Fight. I haven't got a great deal to say about this match, to be fair. Very much in the courts of very much a Drew McIntyre match. Almost like a redemption match, almost, of all the stuff that he's been saying over the last couple of years, mainly from last year's WrestleMania, and getting in his own way and all that kind of stuff. And it was nice for him last year to win the world title because he obviously won the WWE Championship against Brock during the pandemic era with no crowd, and he had such a pop when he eliminated Brock at the Rumble in 2020 and was looking to be a good WrestleMania that year. And obviously the world shut down, which is very well established at this point. I feel like this was the Drew McIntyre match. We had Damian Priest a little bit, but it mainly was Drew McIntyre.
I think this was exactly what it needed to be. Drew should go over. He did. It was a good solid 10 minutes of, probably a bit longer than that, 12, 13 minutes.
It was very fast paced, wasn't it? It was very off to the races and let's go,
Yeah, it was a good, it's two good guys, two good workers beating the piss out of each other. Everything looked solid. Everything looked decent. Did overstay its welcome. No problems at all. No, actually, that's not true. One problem.
Okay.
We all know how I feel about the overuse of certain moves and how things, for me, need to make sense. Anyone who used to listen to the old NXT podcast, the Rise and Fall of NXT, I did with our good friend Mr. Goodwin there. We had a big issue about respecting the DDT. You're dropping people on their fucking head, for crying out loud. It should be a 3 count. It should be a finish.
You're on the same vein as me because I've always said, so growing up watching it, when a DDT was hit, it was a desperation move and the person may hit it to stop the other guy from still punching him or whatever he was doing. And then it was either a finish, like you said, or they hit the DDT and they haven't quite got the energy to roll over to get the pins. But when they finally get the arm over, it's been long enough that the kick out was warranted. That's how a DDT works for me.
The move. You're dropping a guy on his head.
Yes.
The only thing worse than somebody taking a DDT onto the steel steps, which was what we saw in this match, and then kicking out at fucking 2 straight away. The only thing more stupid than that is your goddamn commentator pointing out how stupid that is, which is what Wade Barrett actually did live on the show.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Wade Barrett's in-ring career.
Yes, I'm me. Commentary's okay. He's okay.
I'm not he's okay. Yes, I agree with that. I'm not a massive fan of. He's growing on me, but I've not been a massive fan. And the heel sort of role he's taken is fine. I get it, and I think he is getting better. But like you said, to point that out was a very stupid thing to do, I think.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen in the first place. It shouldn't be there to be pointed out. But that's just my own little bugbear. Modern wrestling, I'm old man shouting at cloud now, Benny. Modern wrestling is moving on, and I'm not. I think that's the problem.
Shouting at the clouds because it's taken.
Yes, there you go.
I'm not taking anything away from the match. I thought the match was good. There's just not a lot to say about it. It was gritty. It was tough. There were moments like you've alluded to the DDTs and stuff. That's more of a pet peeve of mine as well. And on old podcasts when I used to do these weekly shows before In the Corner. I always used to, my mate used to come and laugh at me. He says, I listen to your show, I like it, blah, blah, blah. But he goes, you really don't like people not selling DDTs, don't you? And I said, yeah, it's like the fucking super kick, man. I get it, but, the bit in the AJ, I didn't touch upon it, but the bit in the AJ Styles match where Logan Paul hit AJ with the Styles Clash, and then AJ basically got back up and gave Logan Paul one. I was like, really? But because, that happened. The one that Logan Paul did wasn't the best looking of Styles Clashes, so you can kind of forgive it a little bit. But when AJ hit his, he then collapsed to the ring. So it was like a last-ditch effort to hit his finish, but then he wasn't able to follow up because he'd been hit with one as well. So weirdly, I can just about accept that, if that makes sense.
It's another. I don't. Man, I hate it in a way, but I don't want to become a cliche machine.
Yeah.
But I have things that I seem to repeat a lot on podcasts. Thankfully, people seem to think what I say makes a bit of sense. So where do we go from here? What's next is a big thing.
Yeah.
The second word in wrestling business is the most important word. It's a business.
Of course.
And lastly, make it make sense.
Yeah.
It's got to make sense for me. And if it doesn't make sense, like the guy being dropped on his head and kicking out of a DDT after 2 seconds, why should I believe anything else you're doing now? Because that makes no sense. What you're talking about there with AJ last ditch effort, last bit of adrenaline, last bit of energy, nails it, lies on the mat, can't make the cover. Okay, I can buy that.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
that's
Let's
what I
move on to the
mean.
next spot.
I can live with that because he didn't make the
Yeah,
cover
make it
after.
make sense.
Yeah. The DDT with the stuff with the DDTs, all you've got, and again, not an expert. I did a little bit of training. I'm not, a freaking. I had one practice match, so what the fuck do I know? But like, just
Did you win?
No, because they booked me to lose.
Okay.
Do you know what? Funnily enough, they put me with this lad, and basically they go down the line. They go heel face, heel face, heel face, heel face. So they go heel face, face goes over, heel face. Face goes over, heel face, heel goes over. I was the heel, which I was fine with. I wanted to be a heel. But you lose. I was like, oh, damn it. So fine. But the lad I work with, I was like, so what do you want to do? They gave us 3 minutes, by the way, to do something. We're trainees, so they want to see what we can do on our feet, I guess. So I said to him, what do you want to do? He literally shrugged his shoulders at me, Si. I'm like, great, this is brilliant.
Oh, my word.
So I came up with a 3-minute match. I basically pummeled the crap out of him for 2 minutes, 50 seconds, and then acted all cocky, and then he hit me with a roll-up. Because he couldn't even give me what he wanted to as a finish. I don't care if it was an RKO or rock bottom. He could have done it. But he literally shrugged his shoulders at me. And that was my one and only training match that I had. Because work took over and I couldn't keep going. But yeah, I don't know why I've told that story, but there we go. But it was good fun. I enjoyed it. And I still wish I'd have followed it up to this day. But, it is what it is. But yeah, just take a moment. If you hit a DDT, just take a moment. It could be 5 seconds, which feels like a lifetime when you're watching wrestling anyway, and just have that like effort of trying to get your arm over for the cover, and then I can buy the kick out a bit more. So yeah, I think we're on the same page. So there we go. Anyway,
make it make sense.
Make it make sense. We've got 2 matches left, and I think these were probably. I'm gonna go with the. Because I think the women's match, for me personally, I thought the women's match was really good. I don't know how you feel about it, but I was going to save that till last. So I'm going to go with the Intercontinental Championship. First time I didn't even realise this. First time ever to be defended in a fatal 4-way at WrestleMania. I suppose it's been defended in ladder matches for decades at this point, so maybe that's why. The biggest surprise for me, now whether it's just a WrestleMania crowd, I don't know, and I will get your thoughts in a second, is the fact that Dominic Mysterio... And it has been happening recently with trickles, but Dominic Mysterio is starting to get cheered. And this is the guy that you couldn't even get a promo out because people booed him so much. So
no, I'm 99% certain it was a conversation with your good self, going back quite a way. When the guy was putting a microphone to his mouth. And he couldn't even speak because of the crowd reaction. I'm 99% certain it was you. I said they're going to have one hell of a babyface on their fans in a couple of years.
Yes, I think we both agreed with that in the conversation. I don't think it was on a show, but it was a conversation we had privately.
Okay. Now, this has happened, like you said, maybe this is a one-off because it's Mania, but they have had little moments, you said, like on other shows. But people are sheep as well. Not trying to be rude, but that's the nature of the beast. People are sheep.
Yeah.
If the Mania crowd and the Raw after Mania crowd, because it tends to be a lot of the same people who are flown in for the same weekend, if they are fanatically cheering for Dominic Mysterio, people will follow that lead in future shows and he will be getting cheers.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the same level. We'll have to see how WWE deal with it, how they book him and so on. But yeah, when you've got a babyface, when you've got a heel that has that level of hatred, that level of crowd participation in what they do, not allowing them to speak and so on, inevitably they become one hell of a babyface, especially if they can talk.
Yeah.
And a little bit earlier than maybe I thought it would happen, but we're starting to see it, I think, aren't we? The match itself, a good solid 10 minutes. 4 guys who are absolutely fantastic in the ring.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. My only it's not a complaint because I think it was a really good solid 10 minutes. I loved this match, but I loved it so much I wanted to see more. So if they'd given them an extra 5 minutes, fantastic. But perhaps then it might not have been as good. I don't know. But that'd be my only
Yeah.
hindrance.
Less is
Could
more
miss in a bit more.
sometimes. Less is more
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Everyone looked great. Everyone looked brilliant. I'm a fan of all 4 of these guys.
Same.
And I'm fully invested in Dominic Mysterio. I'm fully invested in what's going to happen with the Judgment Day. And I want to see where Bron Breakker goes next.
Yeah, I do as well. Penta, again, not familiar with him or his brother before they came to WWE. Obviously,
Fantastic. Yeah.
Ray
Fantastic.
Phoenix having a match because of Ray being injured. Brilliant match, to be fair. Brilliantly put together. Penta, I understand. We're both in AEW. I don't know. I'm understanding Penta.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
I didn't see any of that, so I don't know. Well, I understand that
Let me tell
Penta
you
was
briefly.
wasn't Penta a former AAA competitor as well?
Yeah, they both work for AAA. They would spend a great deal as singles wrestlers, but they would tag up as well.
Okay.
But
They're bloody
they
brilliant.
would quite often face each other as well. The biggest thing, Penta's going to be a star in WWE because he's the whole package. He's got the look. He's fantastic in the ring. He's marketable with the gear and the mask
Yes.
and all that sort of stuff.
100%.
He's a WWE item. You can see that guy getting marketed to hell, and he's got the machine behind him now. He's going to be huge. The biggest thing I can say about Ray Phoenix, though, first of all, he's quite injury prone. He picks up knocks and injuries quite a lot when he was working for AEW. I think part of that might have been because of where he was working and how things worked in that company, and also the schedule some of these people kept when they were working for AEW. They still be working a lot of indies as well, which they won't be doing as much for WWE, of course. But the biggest thing I can say about Ray Phoenix is there are certain wrestlers that come along that, regardless of how talented they are, how wonderful they are, how great they are to watch, you've kind of always seen stuff before, because wrestling moves and promos and storylines, nothing's 100% original anymore. Everything takes inspiration from something else. Everything kind of gets recycled from something else. That's just how things work.
Yeah.
Then occasionally you get wrestlers that come along that make me sit up in my seat and go, holy shit, because they're doing something I have never seen before. I had that the first time I saw Shawn Michaels as a singles guy. I had that the first time I saw Rey Mysterio. I had that the first time I saw Rob Van Dam in ECW, flying around the place, a guy his size. I had that the first time I saw AJ Styles in TNA. I had the same feeling the first time I saw Ray Phoenix. He was doing things I had not seen before. And he made me sit up and go, why?
Yeah.
I worry that appearance-wise, he's another heavily tattooed guy in a mask. I worry he's going to get lost in the shuffle, because there's a lot of that in WWE at the moment, isn't there? There's a lot of similar kind of looking, and I think Penta stands out because he does look different. I worry that's going to happen a little bit with Ray Phoenix. I hope not. But yeah, Ray Phoenix, if I can find some and I remember to do it, I'll send you some matches of these guys from their AEW stuff.
Okay.
They're always a highlight of AEW for me. Yeah, well worth, anytime he's on the television, well worth investing your time. Absolutely glorious.
Well, what
performer.
I've seen of them so far, Penta obviously has been around a bit longer, not by much, but he has been around longer. It's been brilliant. It's just, yeah, I think you're right, marketing, the way he walks, the way he sort of carries himself, the crowd are...
It's charisma, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, yeah, 100%. I absolutely loved it. The whole the Bron Breakker, let's go to him quickly. He did a great little promo in one of the pre-shows. I did see it. He laid down some Steiner math, as they like to call it. You know, he made that joke.
Loved it.
Made that joke back in NXT. He's got 33 and 30. Now he did this properly. It was funny. I love the fact that he's leaning into it. He could have quite easily gone like, "Oh, I'm not doing that." It's a meme. It's a wrestling meme. It's a thing. If any long-term wrestling fan knows the 33 and a third chance of Scott Steiner from TNA, I believe, wasn't it? He did that. So
TNA Sacrifice. He was in a match with Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, and that.
yeah. And I love the fact he's leaning into it. He's not as tall as Brock Lesnar, obviously, but the way this guy moves and the way, okay, he's not a luchador either, but the way the spear, I don't know if you saw the spear he did to Kalito about a week ago, and then the spears he's done on WrestleMania, he's just impressive, and I just hope the momentum keeps going with him. Again, you talk about future world champions, it's hard not to see one in Braun Breaker's future, to be honest with you. I don't know when it will be, but it's hard not to see one in his future.
Yeah, and you can see him working babyface. You can see him working heel. This guy's going to be around, injury allowing and providing, we don't have bad booking decisions if he's handled correctly. This guy could be around for a very long time.
Yeah. The Finn Balor Dominic story in this match, obviously, Dominic, I love the way this was going, and I thought because Finn hits Dom before he could have a chance to hit a frog splash. Finn hits the coup de grace, goes for a pin. Dominic comes flying in, hits the frog splash, pins Finn Balor, his Judgment Day stablemate. The way this was booked initially, I thought this was going to... I mean, again, it might just be the one-off WrestleMania crowd, so I don't know yet. But I was getting the impression that Finn was going to become a babyface again. But the way it's kind of going at the moment, the way the crowds react to him, even before WrestleMania, people seem to be more negative towards Finn than they are Dom. So maybe that's why that's happened at Mania. But either way, I'm interested to see what's going on. In terms of Dominic Mysterio, quickly, this is a guy that I think the fans wanted to boo anyway, because he's Rey Mysterio's kid. He's teamed with his dad. He's coming to WWE during the pandemic era. He didn't wrestle in front of a crowd straight away. That must have been really cool when he finally did, when the world opened up again. But they could have the way wrestling fans think, and I was thinking it to a degree, I can see the fans going like, you're only here because you're Rey Mysterio's kid. So actually, instead of waiting for the crowd to turn on him and be like, we don't like you just because you're Rey Mysterio's kid and you've been given a chance and blah, 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 whatever. You know how fickle, we've already talked about it today. Let's turn him heel. And so I think there was already resentment there anyway before he turned heel at Clash of the Castle or hit the low blow on Edge, and ever since he's gone there, I think it's the best booking they could have done with Dominic. I think in front of a live crowd.
I totally agree. And the thing as well is, he gets it, doesn't he?
He does.
He gets it.
He does.
Did you see? Well, you said you didn't see any of the press conference, didn't you?
No.
He was not part of the press conference. He was. The guys like Big E and so on who are sat at the table whilst they're waiting for the next guest, and they cut to the crowd and they're sat at the table talking like in the pre-show. He was a guest there whilst they were waiting for people to turn up for the press conference, and he came out with the Intercontinental title, and they're still cheering him, and he was magnificent. He was heelish enough to not ruin his heel persona, but was smart enough to not shoot down the cheers and piss people off. He really towed the line in that couple of minutes he had. This kid gets it. He's going to be something really special.
I haven't seen it. After we finish this, I'm going to go watch the press conference because I wanted to get on here to chat with you about the actual event, obviously. So it's just the way it is. I know you said you wanted to... we've got one more match to go. I love the match. I don't think the pinfall on Finn doesn't hurt Finn. First ever Universal Champion, multiple champion, Grand Slam champion. It doesn't hurt Braun Breaker by losing it because one, he didn't take the pinfall. It doesn't hurt Penta either. So I think everybody's come out of this match pretty much unscathed and will quite happily plod along now for whatever happens next. Whether there's going to be a
100%,
whether there's going to be a transfer, whether there's going to be a draft, I don't know. I'm assuming there's going to be a draft at some point in the next few weeks. It does seem to go by the wayside of WrestleMania season because they want to promote every match, don't they? So people that are normally on SmackDown appear on Raw and vice versa. So I don't think it's the end of the world with that. I mean, if you're going to do it, I'd like it to be separate for the rest of the year if possible, just to make it so it's two brands. And I liked the interaction between Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce that we saw. Like when Nick Aldis became GM about a year ago or so, maybe a bit longer. He basically asked Adam Pearce to leave because this is no longer his show. And I was like, here we go. This could start. It's laying the seeds for the actual Raw versus SmackDown that we've never really had. Not really. They've tried it and it's never really landed, has it? Or at least for me, it hasn't.
Both anyway. Former NWA champions as well.
Exactly, yeah. So, and Nick Aldis, I just still remember him being, I think it was in the 2008 remake of Gladiators. obviously.
Okay,
So the Sky Sports one or the Sky one, whatever it wasn't the best. Obviously, the newer one's come out, and it's actually because they haven't really changed the format much, and it looks like the old one. It's got that nostalgia vibe to it. I don't know if you've seen any of it, but it's quite good.
Yeah, definitely. It reminds me of being a kid, mate. It's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. Saturday nights, Baywatch before, Gladiators after.
WCW Worldwide.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. With the whack. Yeah. Anyway, that's a different. Anyway, we have got one more comment. I wasn't gonna read it out, but before we get into what I consider one of the best matches of the night, the Women's World Championship, I feel like we've got to at least. I'm not being rude, but I don't agree with this. But at the Matt Attack UK, Matt Lewis says worst Mania ever. I love your comment back, by the way. I assume this is you. You're just saying this to get a reaction. You stop being a silly sausage, which I know that's you because you say silly sausage, so that's why I know it's you.
Yeah.
I think worst Mania ever is unfair to say. What are your thoughts?
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, first of all. Let's just make sure we cover that, okay? Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Wrestling is there's so much in wrestling, isn't there? There's so much that I might like such and such, whereas you might dislike that. I might enjoy this guy's work, whereas you might think he sucks, and vice versa. There's so much going on that everyone's entitled to their opinion, and good luck to all. However, Mr. Lewis, I love you to bits, man. You're a top fella, but you got to stop saying stuff just to get people to react. It's nonsense, mate. Have you seen WrestleMania 9? Come on. WrestleMania 11?
I was going to bring up WrestleMania 9, actually. I thought, really? WrestleMania 9? You're saying this is the worst one? Could there be, as we've discussed, there could be better moments, and they could have done a bit better with the ending of, Sunday night, as we've already discussed. But
however you look at it, right? So let's look at let's look at what people could potentially want from their pro wrestling, right? You've got people who love pro wrestling for the bell to bell action. They're not interested in the soap opera storylines. They like wrestling. This WrestleMania with the triple threat match at the end of night one, the fantastic Jacob Fatu LA Knight match for the US title, the match we're about to cover in a few moments, the triple threat match for the women's world title, which in my opinion was the best match of night two, the brilliant fatal four-way we just discussed,
brilliant,
bell to bell. This is, just by looking at those matches, vastly superior in ring when comparing it to WrestleMania 9, WrestleMania 11, and numerous other ones I could potentially touch upon. WrestleMania 2 was dog dirt. It's that kind of situation. That's one variable. Okay, that's one type of fan that really enjoys the wrestling aspect. Some people like just the razzmatazz and the showbiz and the fireworks and all that sort of stuff, and the wrestling and the storylines is neither here nor there for them. They're there for the spectacle. Did you see this WrestleMania? Look at that stage. Look at the fireworks. Look at the pyro. Look at the entrances. Look at the live music performances. Look at the celebrities in the crowd. Compare that to previous WrestleManias. Compare that to, again, I'll go back to 11. I think that one was in Connecticut. I'd have to double check, Benny, but I think that one was in a building in Connecticut. Doesn't compare. Then you take away all of that and you look at the storyline aspect. Some people aren't that fussed about the actual wrestling. They're invested and watch because of the storylines. Joe Hendry, open challenge, is a fantastic moment. So you've got a brilliant 5-star wrestling moment there. But storyline-wise, look at the stuff with Cena Cody. What a storyline that was. Yeah, it ended on a damp squib. It ended poorly, but the build-up going in was great. You look at the storyline we're going to get now with Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, the Judgment Day, and how that match told that story. You look at the story of Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley for the women's title, and poor Io Sky is the champion, and she's being ignored, but she's come out with the belts and all this sort of stuff. Brilliant storytelling, really well done. And most of all, you look at the triple threat at the end of night one, That's fucking cinema. So you compare those aspects, the storytelling aspect, to previous Manias. It's better than some other Manias in the past as well. I'm not going to do too much research and dive into it and put out this WrestleMania had this WrestleMania had that. I don't need to. Anyone who's been a wrestling fan for a while and has watched wrestling and gone back and watched old shows will be fully aware of the WrestleManias I'm referencing here. If you're into the business aspect of wrestling, again, I'm not sure why a casual fan sat at home would say this is the worst WrestleMania ever and base it on a business standpoint. But I'm not saying Matt is. I'm just trying to cover all the bases. This made hand over fist, millions of dollars, much more than some of the other WrestleManias in the past. 13 had Austin Hart, great match, but it's the lowest grossing WrestleMania of all time. So again, all those different variables of looking at this WrestleMania, all those different reasons as to why people might watch. Some people might have a mix. Some people might enjoy the storylines and the wrestling, whatever. Some people might enjoy the in-ring stuff and then seeing the celebrities and the spectacle, whatever. Whatever variable you look at, and yes, this WrestleMania had its bad moments, it had its terrible matches, it had its awful finishes, but it also had wonderful highs, wonderful moments that were fun, like the Randy Orton Open Challenge and so on.
Yeah.
It had brilliant contests, brilliant storytelling. Every aspect you could potentially judge this WrestleMania on would place it better, in my opinion. Again, we come back to it's everyone's opinion, but in my opinion, would place it better than numerous WrestleManias in the past. To say this is the worst is by no means the best, but to say this is the worst WrestleMania ever, give your head a wobble, mate. Stop trying to go for the spectacular. Bloody hell. It makes you sound silly.
There was more positives of stories, matches, and the event in this one than there are negatives, I feel.
I think so.
But yeah.
Well, I love Matt to bits. I really do. He's sound. And I have so much fun when I've recorded with him. I've been a guest on Good Cop, Bad Cop numerous times. And people should listen to that podcast as well, because Graham's fantastic on it. The three of them are absolutely awesome. I've had a great time when Matt did the same as you, Benny, and stood in for a couple of episodes of Chain Wrestling whilst Magsy was on a bit of a hiatus. I had great fun with him there. He's recorded on the Doctor Who pod as well. I love his opinions on Doctor Who and so on. He's very passionate about his favourite doctors and companions and all that. Matt is brilliant. I adore the guy. But sometimes you just got to think, before you press send, have a little think. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Fair enough. We're going to move on anyway. Thank you to those who did comment. Even Matt, to be fair, in the corner, WWE at Chain Wrestling, Chain_Wrestling, and at SJP World Media. We appreciate it when you get involved. Whatever show you get involved with, we appreciate it big time. Women's World Championship, as you've already said, in the story, Io Sky being very much overlooked in this entire feud. They tried to face Palmer again in this match, and she was having none of it. A slap, a kick, and I love that. A little callback. To be honest, a bloody great match. Loved it from start to finish. I cannot fault it. If there were any moments where if there were any moments where it maybe went off or something didn't quite gel, I didn't notice it because I think I was just invested in the match too much, maybe, I guess. It would have been, I feel, I don't know if detrimental is the right word, but if Io Sky didn't walk out with a championship, it would have hurt her a lot more than help her. Because... Yeah,
I think so, mate. I think you're spot on there.
Belair is, just her first WrestleMania lost. She's had a great career. She's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer. I can't see why she wouldn't be. Rhea Ripley the same. Even Io Sky to a degree. Bianca Belair's had a great... This is her first loss at Mania. She's had some bloody great matches. She had a good story a few years ago where she did lose to Becky Lynch at SummerSlam in less than, 10 seconds or whatever it was. Came back and won at Mania. Rhea Ripley's had a freaking great career with WWE from NXT UK, NXT, and, women's... Raw Women's Champion, SmackDown Women's Champion, World Heavyweight Women's Champion. So, I didn't know who Io. I think we all discussed this on the prediction show, me, you, and Tyler. But I think we all came to the conclusion that Io Sky should win, and that is the right call. Yeah. And we're lucky that we got it right. But I feel like if she hadn't, like I said a minute ago, it would have hurt her more than than helped Rhea or Bianca winning the title, because these guys, these like Mami and EST, they're established. They can, either one of them could have taken the pinfall, and it wouldn't have hurt them. I think Bianca Belair ended up taking the pinfall, but it definitely helps Io Sky going forward. I feel like she'll be off to the races now on some title defenses, and I think we've not seen the last of Rhea and Bianca Belair. Your thoughts, Si?
Best match of the night for me. As much as I enjoyed the Fatal 4-Way, this was, I think, the best match of the night. I mean, Io Sky is absolutely fantastic. All three ladies did brilliant here. People know I'm not the biggest Bianca Belair fan. I started off in a position of not really getting it. I've never really got it. I can appreciate that she's very athletic. She's, she's good at what she does, but it's not for me, shall we say. I think she's a little bit stale. Maybe a heel turn in the future would help her. But even on that aspect, she was excellent here. Rhea Ripley's Rhea Ripley, isn't she? She's fantastic. Great look, great ability. Fans love her. All three ladies were really, really good here. And I'm so glad Io Sky won. I think she is absolutely brilliant. In ring, she's probably one of the top competitors in that division. I just really enjoyed it. Absolutely fantastic match. Great opening to the show.
Yeah.
Again, one of the highlights of the weekend.
Yeah, no, 100%. Obviously going from losing the WWE Women's Championship last year to Bayley, after Bayley winning the Rumble last year, to then coming to WrestleMania with the title and then also retaining, it is really good. And like I said, it would have been, I think, more harm than good if she hadn't have walked out with it personally.
You're right.
And in terms of Bianca Belair, I mean, Tyler touched upon this. I think we even touched upon it in the pre-show, the prediction show, that Bianca Belair, I'm assuming a heel. We're all kind of on the same page of, like, we think maybe a heel turn would be good for her. I thought this was coming with the whole Jade Cargill thing. I honestly did, because I thought it's either Naomi or Belair that's taken out Cargill. And that was I stuck by that the entire time. Even when it was announced that it was Naomi that did it, I was still a bit surprised, because I honestly thought it was going to be either one of them or both of them. And I actually thought it was, if anything, they were going to lean more towards Belair. But, obviously they haven't. So, but we'll see how it pans out. If she goes up against Rhea Ripley, I think we will have a split crowd to a degree, but I think most people will probably lean towards to Ripley, I think, based on what I've seen so far. So either way, I think it's going to be interesting going forward. And I think, like I said, Io Sky with some title defenses, Rhea and Bianca, possibly a backlash match in some shape or form, because it all kind of started with Belair being ringside for the Rhea Io championship match, and Rhea getting distracted by Belair, and Rhea blaming Belair basically for her losing the title, which is why she ended up back in the match for a rematch in the triple threat, even though Bianca won the Rumble. No, she didn't win the Rumble, did she? She won the Elimination Chamber match to qualify. So either way, interesting. There's a lot of stuff that's happened over these past 2 days that basically sets up the future, which is what I said before. Mania is a finale, but it's also a beginning. And I think we've seen a lot of beginnings this weekend. And when we can look back at this in 6 months' time, we'd be like, yep, that's where it started.
Yeah, and I think, again, something I get tired of saying, but it is a case of where do we go next? What happens next?
Yeah.
And there are reasons to make me want to watch Raw. And that's what you need, isn't it? You need to give people a reason to keep watching,
I think they've managed that. I think they've managed that over this weekend. Yeah, okay. The Travis Scott thing we discussed at length at the beginning of the show, and other stuff we've mentioned. Yeah, was it all perfect? No. Could they have done better? Quite possibly. Could they have switched the show around, which I think was a great idea by you? Switch it around a little bit to end on the triple threat on a Sunday rather than Saturday. But there we go. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's WrestleMania. Sorry, and Tyler, I want to say again, Tyler, I know you'll listen at some point. Thank you for jumping in and joining me again on this Maddie in the Corner show, which took a bit of a break.
You're very welcome, mate.
Mate, Sai, appreciate it. You doing it. Your insights always. I know, again, I've said at the top of the show, I know the show's called In the Corner with Benny Mac, but I always like to bring people in, and I've got my opinions, and you've got your opinions, and we can sit here and discuss them. And, all right, we might agree, we might not agree. And sometimes that happens, but the fact that we can come in a safe space and discuss and why you think that is a good thing, I think. And it could be quite easily for me to sit here and go, well, that, you know, all right, we moaned about the DDT earlier. You know, that's a pet peeve of mine as well. But we could quite easily sit here and, I mean, the Jade Cargill-Naomi match, you know, it had its missteps and it had a few moments where it didn't quite flow. But Jade Cargill's still learning, and I feel like she's already a star. But like Logan Paul, I mean, she's got a bit more experience, I think. But like they're teachable, and they want to learn. So if they're this good at this level now, they're going to get better. You know, so.
I suppose in summary then, because if we're wrapping up now, and I'm not going to lie, I do have to shoot off. I'm getting quite hungry. If we, in summary then, the best thing I could say to cover the whole weekend would be, it was not perfect. It was not the best WrestleMania of all time. It sure as hell was not the worst. There was plenty of good matches, plenty of good moments, plenty of things that made me smile, some stuff that made me angry, some stuff that disappointed me. But overall, more better than bad. And that's with my wrestling podcaster head on, I suppose, looking at it, critiquing it from that aspect. If I was to take that off and put it down for a moment, I spent 2 wonderful evenings with my wife and my daughter eating snacks and watching pro wrestling and had a fucking good time. And is that not what wrestling's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is my, as I said at the top of the show, my daughter's 3rd WrestleMania, my 25th. Yeah, she got upset when Cody lost, and it broke me a little bit, I'm not going to lie. And even thinking about it now is making me a bit emotional. But the fact that I get to share it with her, I ain't going to be around forever. None of us are, so our kids are going to be around. And hopefully she remembers these moments, not for the moment that Cody lost the title, but I sat down with my dad and watched wrestling. And, she's already going, I want to train to wrestle, Dad, and all this kind of stuff. I know her mum ain't going to want that. But if she really does want it, I do know places. Well, I did a little bit where...
There you go.
So, you never know. But you are right. What is, spending time... I'd love to do, go there myself and do one of these events where we can go and watch on a big screen or something, with all of us. It'd be amazing because it's about just having a good time. And... And then on the podcaster side of me, going forward, there's so many. Jacob Fatu, is Aleister Black coming back? What's CM Punk going to do? What's Seth Rollins going to do? What's Roman going to do? What's Cody going to do? What's Dominic Mysterio and Judgment Day going to happen? There's so much, and there's so much more to mention on top of that. Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, or even the things that weren't necessarily amazing. Like, I'm interested to know how this moves forward because, as I said, this is a finale and a beginning. So. We're going to look back at this in 6 months' time. We're going to be at SummerSlam and going, that started a WrestleMania side. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be good. We will end the show there. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Si, give us your, you know how it works. I've kind of promoted it through the show, but, what else you want to promote, and we'll go home.
Yeah, sure. SJP World Media, the network that carries this very show. You can find it on all your podcast players, platforms, and providers by searching at SJP World Media. All your social medias as well, Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, and all those places. Make sure you're checking it all a follow, a like, etc., etc. Check out all the shows. We've got brilliant hosts such as BenNny here. We've got people like Tyler Peters. We've got Dan Griffin on the Doctor Who pod. Wonderful, wonderful, talented people doing all sorts of stuff, talking pro wrestling, talking Quantum Leap. BenNny and I do the waiting room, talking Doctor Who, talking TV, talking movies, talking sport. The Volley with Matt Lewis and Dan as well, looking at Premier League football and numerous other aspects of the sport as well. So much going on, so make sure you're finding and following at SJP World Media all over the place. And of course, Chain Wrestling Live returns Tuesday the 29th, 8 p.m. on our YouTube and Twitter accounts.
I will look forward to that, my friend. Thank you very much once again for coming on. I appreciate it immensely.
Thank you for having me.
This has been In The Corner. This is part of SJP World Media. Follow the show at In The Corner WWE on X. And we will see you again very soon on Thursday, talking hopefully some good stuff's happened on Raw, because it's the Raw after Mania. So we'll see you again very soon. See you later.